All right, before we call this meeting to order on tonight, we're going to do a quick sound check. All right.
I think we got to keep talking if we sound checking.
Well, I gotta pull up the. All right. Yeah, I can hear myself. All right. Thank you.
I can hear me too. That guy sounds pretty good on that thing.
So we're gonna call this meeting to order at 6:30 on August 13, 2026 at 6:30. Roll call, please.
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth,
Here.
Commissioner Grender,
Here.
Commissioner Howell,
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
All right, so we're gonna have invocation and pledge by Vice Mayor Bloodsworth.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. Lord, we just thank you for the blessings you have laid upon us here in High Springs, Lord, and we just ask that you be with everyone here tonight and all our citizens, Lord. Please keep our first responders safe, Lord. Just guide them to do their will to take care of our town, Father. Lord, just be with us tonight as we do the town's work, Father. Just guide us and give us wisdom. Lord, it's in his name I do pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we're gonna have approval of the amended agenda. We're gonna add a special presentation from the Kiwanis Club, and we're also gonna add something to our consent agenda, James Moore invoice.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right. Approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say
Mr.
aye.
Mayor, I'm so sorry. I would allow public comment on that because you all did add, and just to make sure that people are okay with adopting the consent agenda, to ensure that nothing needs to be pulled off. I would offer public comment on that.
Okay. We're gonna have public comment now. If anybody would like to comment on what we just added to our consent agenda. James Moore invoice. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We're gonna have a special presentation by the Kiwanis Club for the police chief.
Hello, how are y'all doing tonight? President of the Santa Fe Kiwanis, and have some of them here to represent. We have an annual putt-putt tournament every year to raise money to help children in the local areas. And part of that, we have different categories that against each other, and that's the way we raise money. One of them is city employees. So there's been a rivalry between the police department and the fire department every year, and the fire department's been winning. This year, the police department won, I think, by over 10 strokes. Some kind of way, mysteriously, their trophy got damaged. So we have a new trophy to present to Chief Shepard today. Thank you very much. And thank you to the fire department. So, thank y'all.
All right, so we're gonna move on to unfinished business item number 1. Discuss, consider, and act on resolution 2026-A.
Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2026-A, a resolution of the Commission of the City of High Springs, Florida, granting with appropriate conditions and safeguards a conditional use permit as authorized by the City of High Springs Land Development Code, pursuant to application CUP 25-01 by the property owners, providing for a conditional use to permit 6 duplex structures totaling 12 duplex dwellings units within a commercial/residential C1 zoning district, as provided for in Table 2.02.01 of the Land Development Code, providing for revocation of the conditional use permit, repealing all resolutions conflict, providing an effective date. And Mr. Mayor, if you'd like, I'd be happy to go through and swear in everyone who's going to speak and take discussion on any ex parte communications, if that would be the will of the commission.
Yes, we can do that.
So this evening, the board is acting in the form of a quasi-judicial, so pseudo-judicial, and as such, when you discuss the matter tonight, we're going to ask you to testify under oath. So if anybody plans to speak on this item, would you please raise your right hand now so I can just mass swear in? We don't have staff presenting tonight, right? Because Christy's out. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I looked like everyone said yes who had their hands up, Angela. Mr. Mayor, as you're aware, ex parte communications must be disclosed, so I would like to go down the line and ask each of you if you've had any conversations outside of this commission chambers this evening, and then I'd like you to disclose whether or not that's going to affect your ability to be impartial in your decision-making tonight, and whether you're willing to make a decision based upon the evidence only presented in front of you this evening. So Commissioner Howell, do you have any ex parte communications that you need to disclose?
No.
Commissioner Grunder?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Whites?
Yes, ma'am. I spoke to the chair of the Plan Board, Mr. Bolliger, just to discuss what happened at their meeting, and I spoke to Plan Board member Rick Testa about what happened at the meeting, but it won't affect anything.
Okay, and you intend to make a decision tonight based upon the evidence presented?
Yes, ma'am.
Limited to that. Vice Mayor Bloodsworth?
No.
Mayor, I want to call you Andrew Miller.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll relinquish to you.
All right, so we will have the land developer, if you want to start first.
Good evening. My name is Sergio Cruz. I'm land planner with Men and Deer Engineering, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant for the third generation duplex conditional use application. At the previous hearing, the board postponed this item and requested additional information on traffic, soils, landscaping, and potential effects on property values. Those materials are now completed and included in the record. We have a signed traffic study, a geotechnical report, a landscape plan, and a planning level market impact analysis. I will briefly cover those findings and then address the 8 standards of approval in section 11.09.02 of the Land Development Code. So just as a summary, the subject property is roughly 1.53 acres and is zoned C1 neighborhood commercial. It is located off of Highway 441, specifically accessed through Northwest 210th Lane. The proposal includes 6 duplex buildings with a total of 12 dwelling units. The C1 district allows for a maximum residential density of 12 dwelling units per acre through the conditional use process, and on the site, that would allow approximately 8 dwelling units or 9 structures. The proposal is limited to 12 units and has a maximum density of about 8 dwelling units per acre. The buildings are proposed to be 20 feet tall compared to the 40-foot maximum. The plan also includes on-site stormwater management, 30 parking spaces, sidewalk, internal pedestrian access, landscaping, and turnaround for emergency and service vehicles. No variants or waivers are requested, and the proposal does not maximize the density or the building envelope. It creates a smaller residential development between the R1 residential neighborhood to the west and the commercial corridor along Highway 441. We believe that this is a natural transition of the uses from residential to the commercial. Firstly, I want to talk about the geotechnical report that was completed by Caltech Testing, where they drilled 4 borings to the depths of approximately 10 to 13 feet at the proposed stormwater retention areas. Groundwater was not encountered in any of the borings, and the estimated seasonal high water table was approximately 6 feet below grade, which is typically suitable for a dry stormwater retention facility. At all 4 locations, the soils were identified with hydraulic soil group A, which is more permeable and allows for higher infiltration rates. The borings were also generally found sands through the explored depth, and these findings support the proposed on-site retention and infiltration approach, with final stormwater design and permitting still being required, but the report did not identify any soils or groundwater condition that would make the proposed drainage system unsuitable. Next, we have the landscape plan, and this would still need to be reviewed by city at the site and development stage, but the landscape plan proposes a minimum of 10-foot buffer around the site, and we'll get to what the plan board recommended at the plan board meeting, with the required shade trees, understory trees, and shrubs calculated for each property line. The plan provides 900 square feet of parking lot landscaping where only 800 is required, and 13 parking lot trees where only 4 are required. It also replaces all 50 protected trees proposed for a removal ratio of 1:1. So whatever tree we're proposing to remove, we're proposing to replace with another tree. What we provided to the board earlier today is the floor plans where the owner and the applicant revised to remove the rear-facing windows. Specifically, if you look at the 5 duplex structures to the west, where the rear is facing, the windows were removed. Lighting will be limited to building-mounted sconces. No floodlights are proposed. And in combination with the planted buffer, the revised rear elevations with no windows, the low building height or the lower building height than the maximum allowed, and the limited lighting directly addresses the privacy and the lighting concerns that were raised at the prior hearing. Next, we have the traffic impact analysis that was conducted by Optimus Traffic Solutions, and they use the IT Trip Generation Manual 12th edition. The project is expected to generate 82 daily trips with 6 a.m. peak hour trips and 6 p.m. peak hour trips. During the p.m. peak hours, there will be 3 vehicles entering and 3 vehicles leaving at approximately 1 vehicle every 10 minutes. The study analyzed the proposed access on Northwest 210th Lane, also known as Boat Ramp Road, and the intersection of 210th and 441 through the projected 2028 build-out year. The site access operates at a level of service A, which is highly efficient in both peak hours with no projected queue, and the Highway 441 intersection operates at a level of service C with a 25-foot queue. This condition reflects the existing condition of 441 traffic and not a deficiency that will be caused by the project. And you can see the quote by Brian Schneider, the traffic engineer who conducted the study, that the proposed site will only have minor traffic impacts, generating just 6 vehicles per hour during both AM and PM peak hours. Therefore, there are no transportation improvements recommended to support the project. The zoning context is extremely important. As I mentioned previously, the property is zoned C1, and we've again listed some of the uses that are allowed by right within C1, which include dance studios, microbreweries, gym, dry cleaning, small repair shops, convenience stores, and again, the brewery. And when we talk about compatibility for the proposed use of the duplexes, we're also looking at what could go onto the site. And we believe that these are higher impact uses that will cause more nuisances. And if you look at some of the customer turnover, deliveries, commercial lighting, and signage and activity that could occur throughout the day with some of these uses, we believe that the 12-unit residential development is lower intensity, is the lower intensity and on-the-site development options. It also provides a logical transition between the single-family neighborhood, again, to the west, and the commercial zoning and Highway 441 corridor to the south and east. Lastly, we have the market impact analysis or market impact study, which was a planning level analysis. And what this data included was the 2025 certified Florida Department of Revenue tax roll and Alachua County parcel data. We also looked at City of High Springs, but we wanted to broaden to the Alachua County parcel data because there's just more data, right? So the larger county data set includes 65,000 single family parcels and 711 true duplex parcels. And what this analysis was looking at was single-family homes, proximity from single-family homes to multifamily, and single-family homes that were within 300 feet versus single-family homes that were over 600 feet. And if you see essentially the dark blue or the light blue bar, it shows that there's a negative 36% difference in the values, and this is the raw data. What this raw data doesn't account for are sizes of houses and the years that these were built. So in High Springs, for example, the near group, so these are the single-family homes that are within 300 feet of multifamily. These homes are approximately 1,200 square feet and estimated to be built on average in 1959. Whereas the further group, the houses that are over 600 feet from multifamily, are on average 1,600 square feet and built in 2004. So naturally, the houses are 45 years newer and 400 square feet bigger, so their value is going to be a lot higher. So we controlled these factors, and we decided to look at 1,200 square feet houses in proximity to multifamily versus 1,200 square feet houses further out. And when you control this data, it gives you a negative 0.09% difference in the housing values, which in our opinion is fairly negligible. So once you control these factors, the estimated effects ranged, and this is looking at Alachua County and City of High Springs, ranged from negative 2.3% to positive 1.7%. So the distance analysis within neighborhood comparisons showed no consistent pattern of lower values closer to duplexes or multifamily properties, and the local data doesn't support a consistent or economically meaningful loss in single-family values caused by proximity to duplexes or multifamily properties. So with the findings and the additional information provided into the record, which include the landscape plan, the geotechnical report, the market study, and the traffic study, we believe that the project meets all 8 standards of approval. And I'll just briefly go through each one, with first being the quality of life and property values. Again, the density is 1/3 of below the maximum. The buildings are approximately half the maximum height. And the plan includes buffers, pedestrian access, no rear-facing windows towards the western neighborhood. And the market analysis found no consistent or economically meaningful negative effect on single-family residences. Secondly, we have consistency with surrounding character. The site is located between the R1 residential development and commercial zoning. Again, when looking at some of the other uses that are allowed by right, we believe that this is far lower in impact. The duplexes remain residential in use and provide a transition between those areas. Third, we have traffic and parking. Again, the traffic study found only 6 trips per each peak hour, level of service A with no queue at the side axis, no intersection deficiency, and no recommended transportation improvements. The project requires 24 parking spaces. We provide 30. Fourth, we have the drainage, the access, parking, and service circulation. We've allocated approximately 20% of the site to be reserved for stormwater management. The geotechnical report found favorable infiltration conditions. Access is being provided from Northwest 210th Lane, and internal circulation it accommodates emergency vehicles, delivery, and sanitation vehicles. Screening and buffering is the 5th point, and the plan provides, again, the 10-foot buffer, the required trees and shrubs, the 1-for-1 replacement, and more parking lot landscaping and parking lot trees than required. The revised rear elevations, removing the windows, adds an extra layer of privacy. Then number 6 is compliance with the C1 district. The proposed densities, setbacks, floor area ratios, parking, and building height comply with the applicable standards. The landscape plan would still need to be reviewed to make sure that that's compliant with the standards. No variances or waivers, again, are requested. 7th, we have lighting and signs. Lighting is limited to the building only with no floodlights. The entrance, if there is a sign, will remain outside the site visibility area, and a photometric plan will be provided if needed at the site and development review stage. Lastly, we believe that there will be no adverse effects on health, safety, or welfare. Again, based on the information provided from the traffic study, the geotech report, the landscape plan, the market analysis, the proposal operates within the density, height, parking, access, and design standards established by the code. And we believe that the record supports the finding that all 8 standards are met. On July 20th, we had the plan board meeting, and the plan board recommended approval with the following conditions. 1, that the western buffer adjacent to River Run Plantation subdivision shall be changed from a broken buffer to a fully opaque buffer. The minimum width of said buffer can remain at 10 feet rather than 30 feet. And the minimum number of trees with said fully opaque buffer can be lowered to account for issues with root structures being planted too close to each other at the recommendation of a licensed professional. The applicant is comfortable with the conditions recommended by the plan board. In summary, we believe that the record now includes all the information requested at the prior hearing, and we revised the applicant after the previous meetings revised the layout to remove the rear-facing windows towards the western neighborhood and limiting the lighting. The project, there are several concerns with the projects to the south, whether it's some of the landscaping not being built up to code, but the city has put an effort to make sure that it is enforced and it is up to standard. And the property to the south is built by a national corporation. This development is being built by local home builders who have worked in the community for 50 years. They do care about the quality of the build. They do care about the community and the compatibility. And they will put their best foot forward to building a development that is not only compatible with the residential neighborhood, but also with the commercial to the south. So we believe that the application meets all 8 standards of approval in section 11.09.02. And as plan board recommended approval with condition, we also respectfully request that the city commission approve this conditional use request. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any commissioner questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, please. Thank you, first of all, for all of that work. The soil borings look pretty good.
Yes, ma'am.
Not a lot of clay. It'd be nicer if you had more, but also no karst.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't hit anything that gives me concerns in terms of voids being in there.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's good news. The traffic impact study was comprehensive,
Yes, ma'am.
truly. We've had a lot less submitted for much bigger, so I really appreciate the effort that went in there. In terms of the recommendations that the plan board made, originally they were talking about there being a fence, and now they wanted it to be a natural landscape buffer.
Yes, ma'am.
On the western part, the part of this property that is adjacent to the subdivision,
Yes, ma'am.
would it be prohibitive for you from just a day-to-day operation standpoint to get that natural buffer planted first, to give it time to grow and mature as you were building? Or would that make it prohibitive?
I believe that the applicant isn't here today, the owners, but I believe they would be comfortable with that.
I mean, it's not required, it's just, it would be something that might help, while
Yeah.
it was being built, the trees would have
Plant the
time to
landscaping
grow.
first. Yep.
I really appreciate the windows.
Yes, ma'am.
That allays a lot of concerns I think the residents had there, and the lighting.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
they experienced some light noise from some commercial development
Yes.
in that neighborhood, so I really appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
All right, any other commissioner questions or comments? All right, well, we'll entertain a motion right now.
You'll need to allow public comment so that they can provide testimony.
So before.
Yeah, so we'll do public comment essentially twice. It'll allow them to provide testimony, and then they'll be permitted to make comment on the motion.
All right, so can we read in the letter first? Did you receive that? You don't have to read the first page, the second page.
Sorry, yes, Mr. Mayor, if you would like to read it into the record, and then we can open it to public comment, because this is essentially public comment, so if that's the will of the commission, absolutely. Oh, you want me to read it? Do we want the whole thing read in? Not the first page. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, because I am unable to attend tonight's hearing, I respectfully request that this letter be included in the official record for CUP 25-01, and if the city's procedure permits, read into the record. I appreciate the work the applicant has completed since the Commission first considered this application. The applicant has now provided the requested traffic, geotechnical, market impact, and landscaping information. I also recognize that the proposal satisfies the city's numerical density calculation, and that several concerns raised earlier in this process have been addressed. For that reason, I have intentionally narrowed my comments. I believe the principal unresolved question is standard number 2, whether this particular conditional use is consistent with the character of and existing land use patterns in the surrounding area. I understand planning staff's position that the surrounding area should not be limited to River Run Plantation and should include the broader US 441 commercial corridor. That is a reasonable consideration, and I do not dispute it. But Standard 2 does not refer only to zoning or use. It refers separately to character and existing land use patterns. That distinction is the heart of my comment. Since the July 20th Plan Board meeting, I reviewed the 2026 Alachua County property appraiser records for every one of the 40 platted residential lots in the River Run Plantation, the subdivision that directly adjoins the proposed site. Those public records show an objective picture of the neighborhood. Of the 40 residential lots, 38 are improved and 2 are vacant. All 38 completed residents are detached single-family houses on individual platted lots. There are no duplexes, no attached residential buildings, and no clustered multifamily development anywhere in the subdivision. The records also corrected one of my own earlier impressions, and I want the record to reflect that accurately. 7 of the 38 completed homes contain some finished upper story, abbreviated FUS, area. The other 31 do not. I am therefore not arguing that every River Run home is single story. Where the upper story area exists, it is a minority of the home's living area, a median of roughly 21% among those 7 homes, and each remains a detached single-family residence on its own lot. The relevant distinction is therefore broader than story count. River Run's documented development pattern is one detached single-family residence per individual lot. The median River Run is approximately 1.6 acres. The applicant proposes a categorically different residential form, 12 dwelling units within 6 attached purpose-built two-story duplex buildings on a single lot parcel of approximately 1.53 acres, a parcel slightly smaller than one typical river run lot. I want to be clear that this is not a density objection. I accept the city's gross density calculation and the applicant's figure of approximately 8 dwelling units per acre. The point is different. It concerns the physical development pattern, detached versus attached, individual lots versus single clustered parcel. 1 residence per lot versus 12 residences on one parcel, and the resulting difference in building concentration, spacing, massing, and relationship to the established residential edge. That is why I do not believe the fact that the proposed use is quote residential, end quote, by itself resolves standard number 2. A residential use can take many physical forms. Detached homes, duplexes, townhouses, and apartments are all considered residential, yet no one would say they share the same character. The conditional use process exists in part so that the commission can consider whether the particular form proposed at the particular location is consistent with its surroundings. The July 20th Plan Board discussion itself showed this remains a genuine question. A member observed that the duplexes he was familiar with in High Springs were generally 1-story and scattered rather than a concentrated cluster of 2-story duplex buildings. The board recommended approval by a 3-1 vote and did so only after adding a condition addressing the western buffer, which indicates that compatibility and buffering concerns remain even after the applicant's revisions. I also understand that the applicant's point that the parcel could accommodate more intensive commercial uses by right. That may be relevant context, but does not answer standard 2. The question is not whether 6 duplexes are preferable to a hypothetical brewery or convenience store. The question is whether this particular conditional use independently satisfies the city's standards for approval. I therefore respectfully ask the commission to consider standard 2 on its own terms and to determine whether 6 attached proposed built 2-story duplex structures containing 12 dwelling units on one parcel are consistent with the documented character and existing residential development pattern of the neighborhood the site directly adjoins. If the commission cannot make that finding from the evidence, I respectfully request that CUP 25-01 be denied or deferred so the applicant may return with a residential design that provides a more compatible transition. If the commission nevertheless approves the current proposal, I respectfully request strong enforceable conditions protecting the river run boundary, including fully opaque western buffer recommended by the Plan Board, screening that provides meaningful protection at installation rather than only at eventual maturity, with a defined minimum installed height, recorded maintenance and replacement requirements that survive the sale of individual units, restrictions preventing west-facing lighting that also bind future owners, and consideration of reducing the height of or stepping down the building's nearest river run. I am not asking that this property remain vacant, and I support responsible residential development of it. I am asking the commission to give independent meaning to the word character in standard 2, and to determine whether this particular physical form provides an appropriate transition to the established neighborhood it directly adjoins. Thank you for your time, your careful consideration of the record, and your service to the citizens of High Springs. Respectfully, Lance Briner, River Run Plantation homeowner. And then attached thereto is, I think it's a summation document of key points. It'll be entered into the record, I assume.
All right, now those that are sworn in are able to speak on this subject matter.
Well, I want to thank you all for letting me voice my opinion on this matter. I'm not going to restate the concerns outlined by Mr. Brenner. That's what I had written initially, but hearing what he had to offer, it is clear that the proposed development is in direct non-compliance with Section 110902 of the Land Development Code. Let's make sure we understand what it is. The proposed conditional use is consistent with the character of and existing land use patterns in the surrounding area. We're not talking about across the county. We're not talking over there. We're talking in the surrounding area that this is what they have in common. Example, the proposed development. Now, we've said this, but let's put it in context. We got 12 units and six attached 2-story duplex buildings on a single 1.53 acre parcel. parcel. 1.5 acres, they're gonna put 12 units. River Run Plantation, where I live. Median size of the lot is 1.62. You have some that are 5 acres, minus 2.5 acres. All of them containing single-family homes with a minimum square footage of 2,000 square feet. Additionally, Ashton Ridge, Spanish Gate subdivisions contain detached, one-story, single-family homes. Let's just make sure because we're talking, there has to be consistency. Instead, we're talking 900 square feet and virtually nothing. From the commission's standpoint, this is not just a vote on this issue and it's over. I've been there. Should the commission choose to approve the development as is, a precedent, in my opinion, a precedent has been set, and the message is clear. Contractors, build whatever you want, wherever you want. Consistency and existing land use patterns no longer apply. That's the question you guys have to figure out. They're coming in with duplexes and so forth, which alters completely the character of the area and the existing land use completely. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Hal Cohen. I am a 55-year resident of Florida and a 19-year resident of Alachua County and River Run Plantation. The remaining years, we resided in Palm Beach County in South Florida. We watched as the population of the county quadrupled while we were there. Cow pastures turned into zero lot line gated communities, and the closest road to our home grew from 2 lanes to 8 lanes. The entire character of a charming South Florida county was trashed by uncontrolled development. When we retired in 2004, we knew we needed to find someplace else to enjoy our later years in peace and able to enjoy the quiet and space a community like High Springs and River Run in particular offered. We were thrilled with our new home in River Run Plantation, where all the homes are on lots mostly about 1.5 acres. One home sits on property that now a developer is apparently proposing to have 12 homes built on. The proposal is wildly out of place in a single-family property community on acreage. Nobody, and I mean nobody, I know wants this to happen. To me, this looks like a test case. Do we want to fundamentally change the character of High Springs and permit multifamily dwellings to spring up in the midst of our country lifestyle? Do we want High Springs to start looking more like Newberry? Or do we want to keep the charm, the quiet, and the living space that is High Springs? It is obvious to me that if the proposal to insert a multifamily community so out of character with our homes and building these type developments all over town, we will all look around one day and somebody will say, what happened to our lovely and charming little community? Please do not allow developers to fundamentally change the lifestyle we have all wanted. It's not a question really of what they can do. They can do this. It's a question of should they do this? And the answer is they should not. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Dale Jenkins, River Run Plantation. The last 2 speakers have so eloquently discussed how this is inconsistent with the existing land use. And so I had little packages being passed around that I put together tonight. I'm going to skip the first couple parts because the applicant's engineers discussed some of those issues also. So I just want to go as you get this package handout to the fourth example, and that's the landscape plan for Anytime Fitness. Okay, so my lot backs up to Anytime Fitness. That landscape plan in front of you, as far as I know, is the one that was planted. The same engineer that represents the applicant also did this landscape plan. And if you take a look at that, you can see that they're supposed to plant live oaks, crepe myrtles, 10 foot tall at the time of planting and everything else. And if you turn the page, this photograph, I took that 2 weeks ago. That's what's existing there. The certificate of occupancy was issued in March of 2025, and this is what I'm looking at. That live oak over there, maybe that has a caliper of an inch. You can see what's growing the best right there on my property boundary is the dog fennel. That's doing just fine. That live oak, struggling along. The crepe myrtles look like they're about to die. And so, let's consider this. This landscape plan that's being proposed, where we can decrease the density to a 10-foot spacing, but it's got to be based upon a professional's opinion that the roots don't interfere with each other. Even if they do that, it will be years before these trees and bushes get to a point to where they actually provide a decent buffer. And so there's 3 homes that back up to this proposed development. It's going to be wide open. To the east of us is a big development. It's called River Glen. For years, we had to fight people running through River Glen, no fence, into River Run Plantation on their ATVs. What's to keep the same thing happening here if people that live in this duplex development decide, we'll just walk right on through and have a nice time at River Run Plantation? I mean, for me, it would be better to have a nice big privacy fence, but the double-story duplexes, it's not a great idea. The trees are never going to cover that. I'm glad the windows have been taken out, and I too am not against development, but if the density is just way too thick, and the 2 stories is just not going to provide the poor folks who back up to this proposed development any peace and quiet, and it'll be unimpeded access off of Boat Ramp Road. There'll be no barrier at all to get onto the property, and this buffer that's being proposed, that won't be grown into place for years. I have a live oak tree out in my front yard. I planted that in 2010. It's beautiful right now, but do the math, 16 years. Finally, it looks like a nice live oak, and it's not quite 20 feet tall. It's just branched out. So thank you. I'm sorry for running over. I appreciate the opportunity to address you.
Hi, my name is Michael Anderson. I live in River Run Plantation as well. I do want to say thank you for what you did. I mean, it's, says a lot about what they're trying to do. But I would also like to say that we don't live in 1,200 square foot houses. How can someone come in here and compare our homes and our property to 1,200 square foot homes? It's not what we live in. We live in homes that are selling for close to $700,000. That's right, 700. We don't know what's going to end up with these proposed duplexes. They're going to be rentals? Are they going to be Section 8? We don't know. Nobody here can say this is what's going to happen with those buildings. And I understand that the local builder, I've been in the construction business my entire life, and I've lived here for 60 years. And it has fed my family, and it's done things. I'm not against growth, but I'm against growth that doesn't make sense to our community and to our neighborhood. I had to fight with the city about the lighting at the gym over and over and over. Then I had to put up my own privacy fence because they sit in the parking lot with their brights on, shining into my backyard. Cost me $3,000 to put up a fence myself of something that the city did not do. They did not support the buffer that was supposed to be there. And when I asked in the planning board meeting, I said, who's going to support that? Well, the city's going to do it. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that answer. But I don't believe in it as a citizen that that's going to happen. You know, they talk about the drought, whatever. Mr. Bloodsworth, were you raised around farming? When stuff went to die, what did you do? You found a way to water it, right? You didn't let it die and make it an excuse. And that's what we're talking about here. A lot of excuses. I'm going to go out my back door and look at the back of two-story buildings and a house that I've worked my whole life to live in. My entire life to live in. I'm not against growth. Put 4 one-story houses on it. Do something that makes sense. Thank you.
Question, am I allowed to ask questions to the applicant as part of this?
We typically, I mean, it would be at the discretion of the commission. If you were a third-party intervener, we would permit you to, but we don't have any declared third-party interveners, so I would leave it up to the commission as to whether or not that's going to be permissible.
How many questions you got?
2?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to ask
But state your name for the record.
my name is Chad Colson. I'm a resident at River Run. I'd like to ask if the traffic study that was done, if it was discussed with FDOT, because I believe that might be FDOT right away there. And then the second question is, was an ecological study done of the site as well? Due to the other developments in the area, we've noticed more wildlife, gopher tortoises, and other endangered species. So just wondering if those two were done.
Would you like to answer those questions for him?
For the FDOT question, there were conversations and meetings with FDOT, which is why the access is proposed off of Northwest 210th Lane. They did not want access coming directly from 441. With regards to the environmental study, there hasn't been one. If it could be done at the site and development stage. So if I may answer some of the other concerns that the residents raised. This the last point about the average property value being 700,000. That may not be accessible to a lot of people, and part of the duplexes is that it provides the missing middle housing, right, between the single family and multiple story apartments. The duplexes provide an entry point for a variety of different potential residents, a wider range of community members that could come and join the city of High Springs. The intent is to sell these structures or sell the units. The intent is to at a later stage be platted. It's not gonna be for rent. The intent is not to be Section 8 housing. As the engineer and planners, it is our responsibility to design to the code. So we designed the Anytime Fitness landscaping to the code. We're gonna design the landscaping for this project to code. And again, because it's a local home builder, we expect them to build it as is designed. And again, the city of High Springs has put forth a great effort to ensure that the code is enforced. And I know that they have been out to the Anytime Fitness site several times to make sure that the landscaping was as was designed. We believe that this is smart and controlled development. We have taken the feedback and made changes to the plan. We've gone back and gathered additional information for the record, for the commission, for the plan board. We are receptive to feedback. And again, we believe that this is a project that proposes another housing option for the community of High Springs. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Attorney. My name is Michael Carrillo. I'm a resident of River Run Plantation, And while Mr. Briner's letter really covered most of our concerns, the things that I feel like we need to emphasize are the fact that 3 points. The intent of trying to transition from residential to commercial, it would be more in keeping with that if we could sort of rearrange the subdivision of that development so that the two-story and the more intense development was not right up against the neighborhood. The other two things are that if it is the will of this commission to approve this development, the landscaping can be put in with the intent that it be able to grow tall enough. But if it's not maintained and if the owners are not required to continue to replace it as it dies, it is nothing. If the owners are not required to not put lights on the back of their residences, the builder may not put them, but the residents may. If it's 2 stories high over a 10-foot fence, you're still going to get lights coming into your backyard. I can't speak for everybody in our neighborhood, but I don't even know where the timer is. But I'm not one of the cave people, of Citizens Against Virtually Everything. I'm not an anti-growth person because I realize that if someone owns a piece of property and they meet your requirements, they're allowed to develop their property. What we're just asking is that Standard 2 be looked at a little bit more closely. We do appreciate all of the things that have been done to get through all of the other hurdles. That's the one that we feel like is still at issue, and that we'd like for you to view it as such and either reject the development or defer it again until they have a chance to revise that. And so I thank you for your time and for your efforts in this setting, and we'll see where we get to, but thank you.
All right, so I just had a question for you. So if a commercial property were to go on this lot, would they need a buffer?
They would have to come in for site plan approval. So at that point, you'd evaluate your site plan requirements. I could look at the code and tell you what your site plan requirements are, but they would have to come in for site plan approval because they'd be changing the footprint of the property as it sits right now. So some of the discussion tonight about, the buffer and whatnot is relevant and is appropriate for a conditional use permit, but you're also going to have additional safeguards at the site plan approval stage, because that's also something that you're going to be considering at that time. So the short answer to your question is most likely. Christy has the code memorized in terms of like the buffers and how deep they have to be and whatnot, but that would be something that you all would be evaluating at the site plan stage. If we considered a use by right, for example, I think the things that were enumerated were a gym and a brewery and so on and so forth. So they wouldn't have to come in for a conditional use permit. They would just be here for site plan approval, and at that point in time, you'd be evaluating the buffers and necessity therefore.
Okay. Yeah, because my only concern, I'm not a citizen out there, but my concern would be if I lived out in River Run, if a commercial property were to go there, you all already have a concern with the gym having commercial lighting, and then you have another commercial property come right next to it, and it's going to have commercial lighting. It may not be as strong, but it's still going to be more lighting than a residential lighting.
Respond to your statement, please. Mike Anderson again, River Run Plantation. We have done some studies with people on the breweries and that stuff that you're bringing up. they are very clear they could not put a brewery there. There's no parking. There's no way that they could do that. We have been pushed and intimidated by what can go there. But if you talk to the people, the Freemasons said there was not enough room for them to go there. So they moved across the street. They said, we can't go there, there's not enough room. A convenience store is not going to go there, because when I talked to the guys at the convenience store, they said, that's not convenient. So it's not a convenience store. So y'all keep pushing all this stuff of what could happen. We're not talking about what could happen. We're talking about what is happening. So I don't know why you keep bringing up the facts of that. We get it. I would much rather a doctor's office be there, or a dentist office, or a dog park, or whatever. One-story duplexes, we're fine with that.
Yeah.
This is the issue. None of those things are going to go there.
Yeah.
You know, on the first night we came in here, they said, we're going to put a tire place there. How you going to like that? That's what they told us right out here. So what we do, we call Mavis. Mavis said, no, we're not doing that. But they put it as an intimidating factor for us to be quiet. Thank you.
Yeah, and I get that, you know, and I just wanted to put that out there for in the future reference if we do not approve this, you know, just to know what could possibly go there. But it's totally up to you all, because that's the neighborhood you're adjoined to, and we make the decision whether or not it's going to be there.
Just to maybe to add on or clarify on the deal, but we asked several people that were in business on the deal when they were here initially, would you do it? Every one of them said they couldn't because there wouldn't be enough parking. By the time you built the business and then the parking, it wasn't big enough for that. So the fact of putting an industrial in there, some type of business in there, is not even in the thought process, simply because of the lack of land to provide adequate and required parking spaces. So it's not going to happen. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because
No.
even when we talk about a tire shop, there's a tire shop right down the road that's about the same square footage as that lot. We have a tire shop that's small. It's right across the street from Family Dollar. You could put that tire shop right in front of you.
Well, I don't know if you could or not by the time with the new parking that you have. That's been there forever. What you have to do now, it would be interesting to see what is the parking requirement for the size of the building, because that's an old building. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a quick question? In terms of enforcing the vegetative buffer, what mechanism do we have by which to do that for already existing structures that has proven the vegetative buffer didn't grow? How can we help, number one, with that? And then if all of these individual duplexes are individually owned, who's the responsible party for making sure that the vegetative buffer is maintained?
Okay, so two-part question. Your first question, it would depend a lot on how those properties were approved. If they were approved via conditional use permit, when you'll recall, as I read the title of this resolution this evening, there is a way to revoke a conditional use permit for failure to adhere to the requirements of said conditional use permit. Your code enforcement board is another or I think you have a magistrate, not a board, but code enforcement is another option of citing lack of compliance with the land development code. If you don't comply with your site plan, I imagine we would probably take you to code enforcement. That would be an option. So that question would be hyper-specific to the facts, right? Is we would need to look and see how whatever property we were concerned about was approved and what conditions were placed on it. In regards to the duplex, I don't want to speak for the applicant in terms of how this is going to get divided up, but it sounds like at this point in time it's not being platted. And so I would imagine that the land would remain owned by the applicant, because I don't know how else you're going to sell off land. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're buying the structure, you're not buying the land. So it would still be that it would remain with the landowner. Now, if they platted in the future, that would be a completely separate analysis, because then at that point the individual lots would be owned by individual people. And remember that when we subdivide, we typically do some sort of developer's agreement, something to that effect. And that's typically where you can impose additional provisions on the deeds of, the deed comes with restrictions, so on and so forth. So I can't speak for the applicant. I don't know what the future looks like for this applicant. So I apologize. It's kind of a vague answer. Some of it is we can't, I think someone said we don't have a crystal ball to see what this looks like.
If they can't sell the land with the development, doesn't that mean that it would be kind of like the villages where the applicant still owns the land and the outside of the building? The only thing that the person is buying is the inside of the house.
I can't speak for how the applicant's going to do it, but that would, and I'm not a real estate attorney either, I'll be candid with you, but that would be I would envision it going, because otherwise I don't know how you convey the underlying land if you don't subdivide it.
Yeah, and I get that. So if someone buys the house and they don't own the land, and the applicant still has to control the outside, that means that they're stuck with making sure that it's painted, the roof's done, the landscape is taken care of for the entirety of that building being there.
I would
correct?
assume so. I don't know how they would have to, how they structure whatever their homeowners association would be, I imagine,
Right.
or a condo association, something to that effect, I imagine would be how they would fund the outside maintenance.
But that's how, the ones that I've dealt with, that's mostly how they work.
do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's how I would envision it
Yeah.
happening. I can't speak for them, but
Well, thank you for clarifying
That
that.
would be my thought.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from the commission?
Yes, good evening. My name is H.E. Mannheim, and I've lived in River Run Plantation for about 2 years, and I moved here from Homestead, Redland, outside of Homestead. It's a farming community, and one of the reasons I left was because within a half mile of where we live, they rezoned 40 acres to put 500 townhouses on it. 2-story townhouses. Now, whenever I tell people that they say, "Where'd you move to? Where do you live?" And I said, "High Springs." I said, universally, they tell me that's a nice place to live. And it is. But one of the main things that keeps a place a nice place to live is zoning. Without zoning, there's no way to control any of that. You're going to have to excuse me. I have tremors. I developed Parkinson's a couple years ago. So
Sorry to hear that.
but the thing that does keep it is the zoning. And if you want an example of that, just head south on Main Street to Newberry. And that's the way that this will become. Because it doesn't start with putting all these, developments in. It starts with a duplex, and then it goes to more, and then it goes to the density. It goes from low density to high density. So it's progressive, and that's just a fact of life. So I'm here to say that I understand. I've been in building for over 50 years myself, and I understand that they have a business, they have to make a profit, but you have to take into consideration the community first of all. Before the individual like that, you have to consider the whole community. And I think it's the beginning. I think it'll start here, and you'll come back in a few years and you won't recognize it. But I thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or concerns from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I'm a little concerned about the buffer myself, because we've had a few projects here in town that we've all kind of requested that buffer, a privacy fence, or what have you. I know where Mr. Jenkins lives. I know a lot of folks out there that live in there, and I am concerned by the pictures that Mr. Jenkins has provided. And I know what he dealt with the lighting situation, because I went out there and experienced it myself. I don't like what I see with the picture. I know nothing was resolved. I don't know if we can go back to the fitness center area and demand that that be done differently. But I'm worried about, with this land development code, if we don't fix this during that process, we're going to run into these same issues later on in the future. I don't want to limit a property owner to be able to develop their property how they see fit. That means we're getting in people's business as a government. We don't need to do that. But I also understand resident people concerned with what's going on in the backyard or front yard. As myself, where I live now, a big subdivision has changed how my place looks, how traffic has affected my home. I have serious concerns with this myself. I don't like not having enough buffer, and somebody brought out the point, how many years is it going to take for the buffer to actually have a privacy, natural privacy? A privacy fence is good at some point, but it has to be well maintained. Definitely not the wood, because it's never going to last. It's always going to need maintaining. I also brought a question out this week, and I think Mr. Carrillo said the same thing about reversing maybe the project. And I looked at that same thing, Mr. Carrillo, and I thought, why can't we just move the buildings forward and have the road at the boundary line? And I thought, well, I wouldn't want to be living in that house and a truck going in there with headers and straight exhaust come blaring in there at the middle of the night. At least the duplex is a sound barrier at that point. So the idea of reversing that, somehow moving the road closer to y'all's current homes, I don't think that would be a good idea either. I don't know what's good and what's going to be even keel here. I don't want to stop development, but I also understand their concerns about privacy in their homes. I like the single floor development versus the duplex, the dual height and all that. After seeing the pictures again that Mr. Jenkins has provided, I'm not happy with this, because I want them, if this is going in, for them to have privacy and have that buffer put there somehow. I don't know how you could do it in a quick fashion. If somebody's got a good idea for that, please bring it forward. But I'm also wondering, if we set our land development codes and we have a developer come in here and he meets, or they meet all the requirements, what are we doing if we shut them down if they meet all these requirements? So where are we at legally if somebody comes in and meets every requirement and we deny it? Do we have the right to do that legally to prevent somebody to do something with their property?
You would run into it's a two-prong issue. First and foremost, we're in a quasi-judicial proceeding, so you're considering competent and substantial evidence to evaluate whether or not it complies with your code. That is the ultimate decision that's being made this evening in terms of whether or not this, as presented, complies with 11.09.02 and those factors that are listed in the resolution. And then, I apologize, what was your second question?
About legally shutting
Oh,
a project
yes.
down. It doesn't
So
matter whether it's
if
this one or any of them.
You know, if somebody complies entirely with our code and you turn it down, you're going to face appeal to the circuit court. You're going to face potential claims of violation of Burt Harris laws. There are ramifications to denying someone's use of their property if it is in compliance with your code.
That would also mean a residential doing something with his own property as well at that point in time, not just a commercial project.
No, that's everybody. That's
Yeah,
anybody who owns
exactly.
land.
So we don't have anybody here tonight from our code enforcement or department to answer any questions, if any of us have, to address that tonight.
Correct, because Christy is unfortunately out.
Yes. I don't know about you folks, but I feel like if we move forward without it, if any of us have any concerns to ask Christy, we don't have that opportunity tonight. I also don't want to kick the can down the road either. But I want to take their concerns, and I understand where they're coming from. We don't want to stop development. We want development to be able to have income into our tax roll and all such as that. But there has to be some other way to make this even keel for everybody. I'm still disappointed in the way the fitness center, I'm not accusing anybody, but if they didn't do the buffer zone correctly, we need to get that corrected. And we need to make sure this don't happen in the future.
Mr. Mayor, I would think that if they're not applying by what has been set, then code enforcement needs to come in, and that's something that can be directed for them to do. But to add, you know, one of the biggest things that everybody's talked about is standard 2 and the comparison of. I've got a few things here. I'm going to say it's probably not going to make everybody happy, but Mr. Briner mentions the 2-story duplexes are fundamentally different from existing single-family neighborhoods. And I agree. I agree that the buildings are different from the detached, predominantly 1-story homes in River Run. I don't think we should pretend otherwise. Standard 2 does not require new development to be identical to existing development. The proposed use is still residential, consists of only 6 buildings and 12 units. Our responsibility is to determine whether the different residential form can coexist consistently with the surrounding residential character. I do believe with the setbacks, the buffering, and the design modifications allow it to do so. The duplexes create he mentions the duplexes create an abrupt transition into River Run, and I don't agree. Good planning requires appropriate transitions, whereas where I reach a different conclusion is that I believe this development can serve as that transition. We have a major highway corridor on one side, a small 12-unit residential neighborhood, and then an established lower density residential neighborhood. Nobody's going to come in on 1.53 acres and build a $700,000 house right next to 441. The people who own this land, yeah, their ultimate goal is to make money. I mean, that's what they want to do, and we got to find that balance. Couple more and I'll be done, I promise. To the buffer, it doesn't make 2-story duplexes compatible. I'd actually agree with Mr. Briner's first comment. If the only evidence of compatibility were a 10-foot strip of landscaping, I would have concerns. But that's not the only measure that they took. Considering the continuous landscape buffer, together with the building setback, relatively small 6-building development, residential use, and removing the back windows, I feel like the steps are there. I think that was about it. And I wanted to sit up here and say that, you know, this gives affordable housing. It gives High Springs some affordable housing, and that's not true because I don't know what these things are going to be rented for or what they're going to be sold for. But the reality is it gives us a variety of homes. Yes, and just to comment on the gentleman that came up and mentioned about businesses and talking to businesses, I can tell you now, there's a lot of car washes going up around this area. I don't know if everybody's noticed. Some of them on less than an acre. I don't want a car wash. I don't know. I understand it. Where I live, there's 20 acres behind me, and I'm assuming if I live there long enough, it's going to be developed, unfortunately. I will probably fight it just as much as you guys have fought it. But I don't know what to do at this point because, as some of you guys say, you come up here and you're okay with growth, but just not growth there, not growth in our historic district, not growth in the outside of the city. We don't want growth. So, I mean, where do we grow? It's got to happen. You have to. We have to. Our resources that we have provided as a city, they have to be paid for. We want the best fire department. We want the best police department. The only way to do that is pay for it. That money's got to come from somewhere. In my opinion, at this point, I would say that all 8 standards have been met in this plan. And yes, I think that one of the things that we have not done is stay on top of some of these businesses when it comes to what they agreed to do. The property owners are responsible for it. I haven't been out there. I don't work out very often. So I haven't, those pictures are surprising to me. I would say that we definitely need to get code enforcement involved with things like that, and we need to get it a little bit more active around the city altogether.
Give us 1 second. When we do our motion, we're gonna open the floor back up. But that's what I'm saying. Once our motion is done, you'll get a chance to comment.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I agree largely, Commissioner Howell, with everything that you said. We have to allow responsible growth. Where I get hung up on this one is the consistency of the surrounding character. There's the only thing you could put on that piece of property is a single-family home on 1.53 acres for it to be entirely consistent. Are they going to build a single-family home there? Could they put 4 single-family homes instead on the 1.53 acres? Would that be a better buffer? Maybe, but that's not what's before us right now. And I do appreciate all of the accommodations that they've made. However, I want to, if this goes forward with a motion and a vote, we've got to put some teeth behind enforcing the buffer. We've got to understand how that's going to happen. Because, 12 duplexes is not consistent with a 2,000 square foot house on an acre and a half. It's just not. But then again, neither would commercial development either. So something that, like Mr. Vice Mayor said, as a property owner, they've got a right. And we can't deny them that right. But we've got to make sure we do the best we can to protect the folks that are adjourning this piece of property.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to remind you all that this will have to come back for site plan approval. So while the image in front of you may be close to what they want to do, they will have to come back for site plan approval to assess the buffers, the drainage, things to that nature. So, if you were to, for example, adopt the same passage that the plan board passed, you're going to have the conditional use permit layer protection of you've got to comply with these terms, otherwise your conditional use permit will be revoked. And then you'll have the site plan approval. If you don't apply with these conditions, code enforcement has the ability to enforce. So to respond to that concern, to provide you with some thought.
So I'm up here, I'm just looking at, and Commissioner White, I hear you. I'm looking at the Google Maps, and right next door is an Anytime Fitness. So if we say no to this, it's going to be something commercial, and that's not a threat. That's not. I didn't appreciate that either. Nobody's making threat. I know what you have said previously that the developers had made threats, but I felt like Mr. Anderson on your comments, it was more like that we had, and I don't think that's a threat at all. That was just what was allowed based on what we had talked about previously. Commissioner Howell, I completely agree with you. And I do agree, I think where our big holdup here is that we're not holding up our end of the bargain with holding people accountable for what they're supposed to build. And that's a problem fundamentally inside the city. I don't think this is a bad development. I do think that they've been over backwards repeatedly to try to bring something in play. I really appreciate the hard work that went into it and the positive attitude where it could have been frustration on behalf of the, I forget your name, sir, I really apologize for that, but on your behalf, I really appreciate how positive you've been and the willingness to work with the community. And I'm inclined to stick with the plan board on this, and I'll make the motion that we accept Resolution 2026-A.
I'll second.
All right, now we're going to open it back up to citizen comments.
I can appreciate it because I've been in that seat on the deal. But this is one, and I'll be honest with you, I cannot comprehend how anybody can sit here and, item number 2, the proposed conditional use is consistent with the character of and existing land use patterns. This is directly opposite of what's there. You can't get much different than this. You got single-family homes, minimum square footage is 2,000 feet, and you're on 1.6 acres. As opposed to that, we're gonna jam in 12 duplexes, 900 square feet. Help me out here. The proposed conditional use is consistent with the character of. How can duplexes, 900 square feet jammed in there, be consistent with homes, single-family homes that are on more than 1.5 acres? Somebody's gonna have to explain that to me. Because that, to me, is the easiest thing to sit there and say, I don't care what you do. They're not consistent. You can do whatever you want. They're not consistent, and that's what you have here. The land use patterns, inconsistent. So you're gonna sit there and tell me there's no difference in a duplex in my home, which is 2,005 square feet. We went right over. So that's what you're basically telling me, is that duplex over there is no different than my single-family home on 2.5 acres. That's what I'm hearing. Thank you.
I think, Mr. Jameson, my rebuttal to that would be, what's the definitive distance that it says that it has to be compared to?
What's that?
What's the definitive difference? Does it give a definitive difference?
Existing land use patterns.
Okay, within how many, within what?
In the surrounding
proximity?
area.
So what is the surrounding area?
Well, I don't know, let's go.
Adjoining, so it's a gym. That would be commercial.
You're in a commercial. Time out. You're in a commercial deal. This isn't a commercial thing going in.
Right, but so it's
This is
commercial
zone
yet
commercial,
residential.
so they could go in because of the commercial zoning, right? Yes or no?
It's commercial residential.
Right. So they could go in. All I'm saying is they put homes in here. They put houses. They didn't put a building or an industry or a business. They put homes. By putting houses in there,
Where does it say, and what does it say that
The
I
pro-
should use to say within a certain distance?
so let's
I'm
do
asking.
this.
I don't know. I don't know, because I'm assuming I missed that. If you did not miss that, I'm asking for education on that. That's simply.
No, it says surrounding area. I tried to look
Is
it
there a
up. You can't
definition
get
for
it.
surrounding
So
area?
you guys are basically going to say what? It's not in Ashton Ridge. There's nothing going north. So in order to have what we have right there now, how far do you have to go to where you're going to have duplexes, two-story duplexes, jammed up against a residential single-family home? And here, how far are we going to go to justify this? That's what you guys have to do. And if I was up there, I had to make the hard decisions when I was up there. And I get it. It's your own decision. But I'll just tell you, if I'm sitting there, I'm using common sense. Most of the time when I was up there, I wasn't that smart. I'd be first to admit it. I'd use common sense. And if you're going to tell me that 12 duplexes are consistent with single-family homes, somebody's got to help me out here. Because that's a foreign language.
All right, that's your
Mr. Mayor,
time.
if I may. So, Mr. Jameson, I know, and we've had a lot of conversations. There's nothing up here that I can tell you that's going to change your mind. But I believe we can look, I don't believe we only have to look toward River Run, right? The surrounding areas. The ordinance tells us to consider the surrounding area. River Run is absolutely part of that surrounding area and deserves significant consideration. But so is the major highway corridor immediately adjoining this property. And that's why even Mr. Briner in his letter mentions, and several people that's come up here and mentioned, there's a transition. So to say that it's the same, absolutely not, it's not the same. But just because the form is different doesn't make it compatible.
The gym is on 441. The entrance to that gym is on 441. The traffic is in and out on 441. It is not on Boat Ramp Road. What is on Boat Ramp Road past River Run are several single-family homes, some of them bigger lots, some of them smaller lots, but all the way to the Santa Fe River, you've got private single-family homes. River Run is only the end of that strip. That's what's there. There are no duplexes in there. that I'm aware of. And that gym, the address of that gym, I'm sure it's 441.
My name is Dorothy Robbins. I live on the Boat Ramp Road, not in River Run. I certainly agree with my neighbors in River Run. And I will say everybody on the Boat Ramp Road lives in a single-family home. So if you want to include that as part of the consistent area, we are there. Some of us have been there longer than River Run. We're also concerned about the intersection with 441. There have been accidents there. I believe that was addressed. There was a study done. That's fine. But I also think it's still dangerous, and every time I have to turn left into Boat Ramp Road, it is scary to me and to other people as well. I just think that this is the wrong thing for our street. I do not want that kind of density. I would look for a counter proposal to come out of this where fewer units, maybe one-story units, maybe a couple smaller houses. Anything is possible. It doesn't have to be this monster, does it? Thank you.
Well, Dot is my neighbor as well. I live not in River Run, on Northwest 210 Lane, Boat Ramp Road. I have been there 42 years. I have been there before there was a River Run where it was just temporary.
Excuse me, ma'am, what's your last name or your name?
Garrett.
Garrett, thank you.
Just like everybody else has stated, it is not consistent with the neighborhood, not just River Run. That's not the only area. Everybody else on the rest of our street, we all own at least an acre or more. Most of our homes or over, mine's 2,000 square feet, many are larger, all the way down to the river. So I don't want you to just think River Run doesn't want it. We want it to just be consistent. So I am not against development. I love River Run. I'm glad they put that in there. It increased the value of my home with a nice neighborhood going in. So it's just not inconsistent with the current usage. Also, we have the issue of when the river gets busy, a beautiful day in the summer, there's no parking. It's a dead end at the boat ramp. It's dead end. So people are already parking like on the right of way all the way up. So when you add another 24 houses in there, it's just going to be extreme. They made a wonderful presentation with they said, oh, it won't affect your property values. I disagree with that. And also when they were doing their comparison of, putting multi-use next to homes, they were looking in the Gainesville area. So they weren't looking anywhere near High Springs. So of course, Gainesville is a whole different ball of wax. When you put in the different multi-use homes next to, I think he said the homes they were comparative were, they were small homes, 1,200 square feet, built in the 1950s. So it's not, you're doing apples and oranges. You're not comparing. His figures are good figures, and I'm sure that the report is wonderful, but it's really not consistent with everything that's going down our street. So I'm getting the feeling that you all think this is maybe a done deal. I hope not. I hope you can adjust it somehow, because it's just like we're not against development, and I don't like to tell people what to do with your property, but it's just, it shouldn't have come this far in the first place. So thank you for your time. I think everybody else already said things that I don't want to repeat everything, what everybody else was saying though, but just, River Run is, the whole street, the whole neighborhood, is concerned. There's only, on our street, there is only like 13 families up and down the boat ramp road. So you could see why we don't want to have 12 families shoved into like an acre when everybody else has, you know, their property.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
David Lynch. There is a lot of vacant land in High Springs. If you walk around High Springs, you will see a lot of land that is in woods. We need to develop the land that is in High Springs and avoid urban sprawl around the perimeter. And that is what this does. So I recommend that the commissioners approve of it.
So I know we've been talking about consistency. I remember the last time it came up, and I kind of gave some examples of where you could see this at. So if you go by High Springs Community School, there's a doctor's office, then it's the duplexes, then it's the neighborhood right across the street. So, you know, that would be where you would see that at. Then you would go across town to Douglas neighborhood. There are trailer park. Then they just build all the homes on Railroad Avenue. And then you go to South Side, which are the bigger homes. So I won't say that is the best, you know, option in the world, but when we do look at High Springs, we only have so much space, and that's how every area in town is kind of built right now, if we look at it.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, while we're updating the LDC, I think it would be a good idea for us to identify areas that might be appropriate for this kind of development, just so that we can be looking forward, so there are options for housing. I understand this is a commercial piece of property. And the consistency with the surrounding character is the holdup that I have. It's the only one I have. You know, I understand that the property owner has rights to develop, but I think that if you put, somebody mentioned 4 homes on this acre, that would be a more natural transition. I understand that putting the duplexes in there gets a better ROI. I understand that. But in terms of a natural transition, single-family homes would be a more natural transition just on a smaller piece of property. So.
All right, well, we have a motion on the floor. This is a roll call vote.
Mayor Miller.
Mayor, before you do that, would you please repeat the motion on the floor so it's clarified? It's been a while since we've.
I made a motion to accept the resolution.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You seconded. Did I? Either or.
It's already getting late.
Mayor Miller.
No.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth.
No.
Commissioner Grunder.
Yes.
Commissioner Howell.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
No.
All right. Citizen requesting comments for issues not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Residential comment?
Yeah, this is just regular citizen comment.
Can I talk not to do with this, or no?
Yeah, this is what this is for. We're not talking about that issue anymore.
How are y'all doing?
And
I've
if
been
the
here before.
citizens, 1 second, if the citizens, if we can calm down just a little bit so we can hear who's on the mic. If you're not presenting at this moment, please be quiet as you exit.
My name is Charlie Mills. I've been here before. I live on Railroad Avenue where you just talked about. And one thing I can say about, y'all need to put a fence up for them people, because that's what I'm asking for. But I'm not, I digress. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Again, I'm Charlie Mills. I live at 22527 Railroad Avenue.
and approximately 200 feet from prime conduit. I'm asking the commission to please consider my concerns and take action. Made a noise complaint, and they did a noise study. And the noise study was incomplete. I don't believe the current study provides enough information to determine what I'm actually experiencing at my home. I've asked for the raw data from the study, not just a summary, and I have not received it. I don't know why I can't get it. They say they have a summary, but request the raw data. My team needs actual data to independently evaluate the study. I don't want someone else's interpretation of the results. I want the actual data. It was not a full 24-hour test. Prime Conduit has gone from 24/5 to 24/7 a year after I moved into my house to 24/7 a day, 7 days a week, and its production output capacity has increased. Yet the noise testing was limited to an abbreviated period, approximately 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. That does not tell us what happens during the other hours of the day. If the facility operates 24/7, I believe the study needs to be 24/7 of actual operation, including daytime production, nighttime operation, truck activity, loading and unloading, and changes in equipment operation. We don't know what machinery was running. We don't know what they had running. It doesn't say. They have 6 extruder lines. How many was running? They just say, this is the numbers. They didn't say anything about what was running. Was it running at normal capacity? Was it running at minor capacity, or maximum or minor? A decibel reading without conditions behind that reading does not tell the whole story. They hired an independent company named Kelly Buck to do the independent study. Well, it's not truly independent because Kelly Buck is associated with them. Their consulting relationship, they have a professional consulting relationship with Prime Conduit. Kelly Buck already does. Because of that existing relationship, I do not believe Kelly Buck should be considered an independent evaluator in this dispute. I am asking the city to use a truly independent professional with no financial or professional relationship with Prime Conduit. I'm experiencing noise, dust, odors, fumes, vapors at my property. I've told y'all this several times. Not just the noise, they trespass. Everything comes over on my land, and then nobody's done anything about it, but say, that's just Prime Conduit. And the only thing I'm really asking, what would fix a lot of it, is put a fence up. What these guys are talking about, that vegetation and that little stuff in between, when you're 200 feet away, God, I wish all I had to deal was with that. I have to deal with vibrating noise. You hear it in my house. Which one of y'all are my commissioners, by the way? I live right behind Prime Conduit.
We're all
All 5 of y'all. I like the way you said you come out there. You know how many people's come to my house since I've been up here fussing and complaining and griping? 0. They run straight to the Prime Conduit plant. They go talk to him, and there you go. That's it. But the independent, back to the thing. The only thing I won't reopen my noise complaint. Require a truly independent 24-hour noise study. Document exactly what machinery is and isn't running during every measurement. And I'd like the raw data. I got people trying to help me. They're asking, hey, get the data. It shouldn't be a big deal, and it appears to be. Address the noise, dust, odors, fumes, and vapors reaching my property. I'm not asking to shut them down. They're there. They're making money. But I'm tired of them making it at my expense and all their stuff trespassing on my land. And it's nonstop. The last 2 nights, and I've got to drive where Miss Ashley, wherever she's at, or she's not here, made it on so I'm going to be uploading videos. I got them, and I'll be emailing y'all when you're there. But I would love somebody to come out and say, hey, and now it's at 3 o'clock at night. I don't know, you can't come out here at 3 o'clock in the morning, but something. But I'm through. Thank you for listening. I appreciate y'all's time.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Poland. I live in Bailey Estates. There's 200 homes. Many of us are happily retired citizens, educated and thrilled to be here. We perform a lot for the community. We volunteer in the library. I'm an usher at the theater. We do lots of things. We work with the kids. I read to the kids all the time in the library. We do lots of cleanup work on the streets. Senior citizens work very hard. We fight loneliness by being out there, meeting people, greeting people, being kind to our neighbors. We're getting squeezed and strangled with the money that we have to lay out. We never once use the minimum water and sewerage. Never. All my girlfriends were single women in single houses. We never ever use that much water. The minimums are killing us. And now I see one more time with the fire. I love my firemen in my police department, but we can't afford that $600 and something. We're all on fixed incomes. I'm a retired school teacher. 29 years I taught high school in Florida, sometimes in the jails. I taught public speaking. I taught debate. I tried very hard. Do you know what my teacher pension is after 29 years? Florida teacher, $1,400. That's it. 29 years of teaching. Social Security, $1,600. I don't even make $3,000 a month. Please, can you do something for disabled citizens to give us a break? Thank you. I have to go home and take my medicine, otherwise I'd stay. Okay.
Good evening. I received this letter.
Please state your name for the
How
record.
many of you received it?
Please state your name for the record.
Oh, yes, Leslie Rockstein. I live in High Springs. On Heron Landing. So I went to a meeting like this. When it was discussed, the audience said they love the services that are being provided, and they did not want it to discontinue. So it was explained that prices are going up, and the consensus of the audience at that time said, well, we understand that. So then I was looking forward to the next meeting, but it was canceled, and the next meeting was canceled. So then I was so excited to get this in the mail saying that we were going to meet today. So according to this, it says that people have up till today, 20 days have passed since some of us received this. Did you all receive this in the mail? That says this is proposed what you're going to have to pay. And has anybody said they don't want to pay it? Because it says if anybody objects, they're supposed to let you all know within 20 days they do not want to pay. In my case, $383 more. Has anybody opposed this? You're all looking at me like, did you receive this in your mail?
Ma'am, it won't be $383 more. It's going from $250 to $383.
Yeah.
So yes, it is an increase, but it's not $383 more dollars.
This says just for the fire? They just specifically mentioned the fire
That's
department.
fire assessment, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and this.
So can you explain this to me? I really don't understand it.
So our fire assessment is actually on the agenda, right? Okay,
That's
yeah,
the
so
proposal.
So
Right. All that is.
So we're almost there, but when we get to fire assessment, we'll get there.
So who finally
So the
votes
comment,
on this?
So when we come to fire assessment comment, you can come back up because right now that's on the agenda tonight.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right. So again, I'm all new to this. I've never
Yeah,
participated
so
in
just give
something-
us about 10 more minutes. We'll be at fire assessment. Just
10 what?
Just wait till we get to the fire assessment item.
Oh, in the agenda?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
That's the
ma'am.
second thing down, so it'll be a little bit before we get to it. I have a feeling.
All right. Any other citizen comments that are not on the agenda?
Good evening. My name is Lanier Smith. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Just to break monotony a little bit, just to let y'all know we got some applications coming in for some special events. We got the car show coming up in November. We're getting ready to get some dates from rec department for soccer coming up. Everything that we do helps the city, the rec department. They're at the Lions Club, so I'm not as close to the Lions Club as I have been, but I'm still here, still working for the city. And it's really important that people know that and come participate in the things that we do, because everything we do is really above board, and it helps. Anything that we do, any dollar that we bring in, goes to somebody in this community. We do some larger national events. Florida Diabetes Camp, the car show supports youth diabetes. We got the schools, just anything that the city is doing, we're glad to be a part of, and y'all can start calling on us again. Things been kind of some rough waters here recently, and we're glad that's behind us. So let's try to put this community back together. Thank you so much.
My name is Ken Miller. I live in River Glen. I was here last time with the special election that you guys were talking about and everything. And we had to change the qualifying times and everything like that. And there were several people that threw you guys under the bus, and Angela too, because you didn't do your job right. Well, there seems to be some kind of a problem, because Main Street News wrote an article on July 30th. And here's what they said. Quote, public records show. Let me read that again. Public records show that Alachua County Supervisor of Elections Kim Barton sent High Springs City Clerk Angela Stone the revised forms on July 23rd. At 9:58 p.m., not 10 o'clock or anything, 9:58. They knew exactly what time it was. Just a few hours after the original 4-day qualifying window was closed. What is she supposed to do? It's already after the time. Yet 3 people who used to be county commissioners, or city commissioners, I'm sorry, came up here and threw you all guys on the bus and her under the bus. They didn't even have all the facts. They thought you guys were screwing up, and you weren't. You guys are doing the best job you can, and Angela's doing the best job she could. All of this happened. If you want to throw somebody under the bus, throw Kim Barton under the bus. She's the one that screwed up. Her office screwed up, not you guys. I think somebody needs to apologize. Thank you.
All right. Any other citizen comments? All right. New business item number 1, discuss, consider, and act on resolution 2026-V.
Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2026-V, a preliminary resolution of the City Commission of the City of High Springs stating the reasons for the intended removal of Jeremy Marshall as city manager pursuant to section 3.03 of the city charter, offering the city manager an opportunity for a public hearing before the commission on the matters raised herein. Affirming the suspension of the city manager from duty with pay, providing for notice in service, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Mayor, before you get into the resolution, I'm obligated, and my duty to you and the professional standards that are set forth for the Florida Bar to let you know when we receive correspondence related to settlement offers and interest of settlement. So what I've included in your packet this evening is a letter from Mr. Ryan Barrick, who represents Mr. Marshall. And he has reached out to my office requesting some sort of settlement discussion to see if there is a way in which we can create a separation agreement such that the city's protected, Mr. Marshall's protected, and from his attorney's perspective. It's something that would be subject to your approval, but given the confines that I'm in the rules, I did want to present that to you this evening. So if you have any questions about what that could look like, what that would look like in terms of proceeding this evening, I'm happy to, but like I said, I'm obligated to let you all know.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask a question of the attorney. So the options are we adopt the resolution, or we table the resolution for now and authorize you to negotiate with Mr. Marshall's attorney for some variation in terms of a settlement.
That's correct. So you could table it and give me 2 weeks to bring back the best thing that I can negotiate on behalf of the city of High Springs. If at that point, at the end of the day, you all are the ultimate arbiters of whether or not to approve a settlement agreement. So that's something that would come back to you all. Or yes, you could proceed with the resolution this evening as written. And I do just really briefly want to clarify how the resolution works. I think there was some confusion that this resolution acts as a immediate termination. It does not. The way that it works is if you pass it this evening, there's a 10-day period in which Mr. Marshall can request a public hearing or respond in writing or both. If he were to do those things, I believe it's set for the first meeting in September was the math. The charter prescribes it can't be sooner than 20 days or later than 30 days. That's when you just have to have the hearing. So if he were to not do either of those things and he were to just not respond and not request a public hearing after that 10-day period stopped, that preliminary resolution would become final and binding. So I just wanted to lay that out. I think it's been a long time since we've talked about removing a charter officer, so I wanted to run through the procedure for that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we table this resolution and give the attorney the ability to try to negotiate a reasonable settlement for both parties. I believe Mr. Marshall's earned that.
I'll second that. I believe that as well.
All right, do we have any citizen comments? Please state your name for the record.
Good afternoon, I'm Tanya Weaver. You put the resolution out there, and I did have an opportunity to read it, and then you did have some items on there for cause. Now, you're moving to do a settlement, then that means we get to pay him, right? But if you fire him with cause, you don't have to pay him. Is that correct? You can answer that in your comments. My concern is, y'all have no money. We've been talking about that. You just voted down some development. We about to talk about the fire assessment. That's a hot topic right there. We have no money to pay this man to go away. Okay? I don't understand this motion. I don't understand this payment. When you have a resolution for cause, I think y'all need to see it through. Thank you.
Hello, Commission. My name is Sarah Weitz. I'm a High Springs resident, but more importantly, I'm the Marshall's dog sitter. I know Mr. Marshall not as city manager, but as a neighbor and Ava's dad. Given that there will be a lot of talk about his tenure tonight, I thought it appropriate to give context to who he is as a person. Through incredible challenges, personally and professionally, he has maintained a mindset that puts others above himself. I am lucky to count his wife, Emily, as one of my favorite people and friends. Despite his flaws, I find it important to bring attention to the fact that he's a complex person outside of this role. He is a father, a husband, a neighbor, and friend. He is determined, loyal, selfless, and kind, and so many other things to the people in his life. My question to you all then is simple. Is a professional disagreement worth changing the trajectory of not only this man's life, but also of his family's? Is this in line with the character of High Springs? Is this the example you want to set? I ask that you carefully consider these next steps as they influence the legacy you leave and the direction of our beloved city, the place that I have called home for 23 years. Having grown up here, it is my hope that to attempt to mar his career to this extent is something that you find unnecessary to move forward. Without knowing too much about the political landscape, I won't speak to his effectiveness as city manager. However, if moving forward in a positive direction is the goal, I don't think that trying to ruin a good man and his family is the right way to do it. Thank you.
I wish I could speak as eloquently as some of the people have done tonight. And, I get started on a conversation. I try to shoot from the hip. It doesn't do well, and I don't write things down. Just say, I always leave these meetings thinking I could have done better. And I just want to say that I'm going to trust you guys, this board, to make the decisions that y'all need to make. Because last time I got up and talked, I told you that I appreciated you answering what questions you could, but we elected you to handle some pretty tough situations. As far as Mr. Marshall goes, I'm resentful that he came into town like a bull in a china shop. I'm resentful that he took the things that weren't broken and tried to fix them. I'm resentful that every commissioner and every city department that I worked closely with to help was not allowed to speak to me, and everything had to go through Mr. Marshall. Had Mr. Marshall been qualified to handle all of those things, it would have probably been good. But it was probably, I think I've worked with 7 city managers since I've lived here in High Springs. And I've worked well with all of them, but 2. Booth was the first one that I had some issues with, but I didn't make them present in our day-to-day activities, as I did not do so with Mr. Marshall either. But he was a very hard person to negotiate with, and I don't think he could see the beauty of the help that was around him. He didn't want any help. But we do things in this town. There's a lot of volunteers. The young lady that just from Bailey Estates just spoke about what they do. You know, we're the same way. We're all in different pods of town, but it's going to take a while to put back. I don't want to say the relationships, because we're always here. We're always going to be here. I just say there weren't very many steps forward. There were more steps backwards. So I was referring to my last statement up here. It's time to put the community back together. We're certainly willing to move forward, but I hope that everyone will pay a little more attention to the next manager we got coming in. Have a good day. Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Sue Weller. I know this is a really hard thing for commissioners to have to contemplate, to have to terminate someone's employment. However, I think at this point in time, there's been enough things going on in this city that justify the passage of this resolution. I don't think it should be kicked down the road. Mr. Marshall had the right to get an attorney, had a right to reach out and to try to negotiate, which I think he could have done, the attorney could have done before now, knowing that this was going to happen. Thank you.
I just want to clarify that I didn't feel as though I had the authority to negotiate, given the instruction at the last commission meeting was to bring back a resolution terminating him. So I apologize if that was my faux pas, but I didn't feel comfortable given the instruction, that's all.
I'll just say that based on what I've seen in the last couple weeks, every city employee has stepped up to the plate. Every city employee has done a remarkable job. The communication has been so much better. I am finally excited to be sitting up here again. I'll admit there was a time when I questioned everything I ran for. And unfortunately, that was heavily due to the lack of communication and the lack of trust that I had with the manager at that time. And I believe the things I have heard from, I'll say, new leadership in different forms, but the meetings we've had and whatnot, and the things that have been brought out that I know other commissioners have been privy to as well, that I can't wait till we can finally release to the citizens. I'm quite frankly shocked that this is even an option to have this negotiation. I believe that there's more than enough cause to remove Mr. Marshall. It's not a personal attack on his character at all, not even close. Unfortunately, this is what you have to do when you sit up here, is you have to make hard decisions. This is a hard decision we need to make and that we need to move forward with as a city. I know when friendships are struck up, it becomes difficult to move past those. But quite frankly, with the information I have and the things I have seen and what has been uncovered, I would believe it would be irresponsible to do that to the citizens of High Springs, to continue employing somebody like that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I clarify a point, if I may? I didn't want to mislead you, Commissioner Grunder. I'm not proposing that I think that parting ways isn't the most appropriate thing at this point. I don't want you to think that. I think that given the tone in the community and what's gone on in the last 2.5 years, I don't think Mr. Marshall would have a chance. Anyway, So I didn't want you to misunderstand that that was my intention. That was not my intention.
Thank you for that.
Hello, Jody Huey. I would just like to say I can't speak to Mr. Marshall's personal character as the young lady did because I did not know him personally, but he has definitely been ineffective as a city manager for the last 2.5 years. We're in worse shape than we were. Anytime that we delay this decision, which is inevitable, like you pretty much just said, we are just stomping our foot. We're not making any progress. It is hurting the city more and more. There's more turmoil. This needs to be a decision that's done now, and this is not an attack against Mr. Marshall. This is progress for the city of High Springs. We have to move forward, get past this, get this behind us, and then vet us a city manager or whatever we decide to do as a city manager, get somebody in that can get us in the right direction. But every day we do this and just sit there and we move it another 2 weeks, or we move it another meeting, we move it another one, an elevator's broke, whatever happens, this just sits here and delays the progress of our city. And there is not anything personal. It's just we need to get High Springs. It is a great city. We need to get it moving forward. That's all I got to say.
Go ahead. Name is Mark Paris. I'm a resident of Cinnamon Hills, and I agree with the young lady talking about our financial situation. We should not be hanging on to this manager. If he is being removed for a cause, we should stick to that and remove him as soon as we can without delay, because the longer we hold on to him, the more money we're paying him, the more money goes out of our city budget. We need to get this resolved.
Scott Jameson, I apologize. I was out on the phone with the important phone call and I didn't hear the beginning of it. I'm assuming it's whether it's for cause or for not to. Is that?
You want to restate the motion so you don't know?
I made a motion, Mr. Jameson, that we allow our attorney to negotiate a settlement agreement with Mr. Marshall's attorney.
Okay. I guess you'd have to ask then every time you fire somebody. I'm somewhat biased because the first time we met, it was not a good deal. He sat in a chair and was a zombie for about 15 minutes. Never even opened his eyes at me or whatever. I say that so you guys understand, but I'm sitting here as a commissioner and I'm looking at it. We have several lawsuits that are because of this man. To not fire him with cause would almost be an insult to people in the past, not you guys, but to people in the past that were. I don't know of a position, and I was there, I had to do it. He didn't have a background check. When we approved this gentleman, there was no background check. He had never been a city manager. He had never been in that position. And it showed. Now I'm just going to speak, it's just the facts. I mean, we on the deal, but to not do it for cause is almost an injustice for people that you fire and don't, because his direct actions has resulted in lawsuits being filed. And there, as I said at his meeting, there's still a couple. So to not do it and us pay him while we're having to pay for litigation against him, which will be the city, doesn't make sense. Thank you.
All right, there's a motion on the floor, and this is a roll call vote.
Before, do we have right to speak?
You can.
Because I would like to say that Mr. Marshall came in here at a bad time. Obviously, we know what situation was going on. and I believe he's tried to be transparent and do the right thing. It may not be a popular decision for somebody to be told no. That's not what he wants to do, because he came in here to make some changes. And I believe we wanted him to make good changes to move forward with High Springs. And I don't know if any of us were in any meetings with any citizens that claim that he got mad and disrespectful and all that. He's never showed disrespect to me. I'm not going to say he didn't show it to you or not, because I weren't in those meetings. I've never had an instant to know that Jeremy was disrespectful to me personally. And then it's been said in the past that he fired somebody 4 days after being here. That is not true. The resignation letter was turned in, and that individual resigned. Mr. Marshall has not taken any money from this city or done anything negligent that I'm aware of. Have you dug up anything that was negligent that he's caused this city? Other people have. He has not. In the last meeting at the Civic Center, people claimed he was not from here, he doesn't belong here, and he needs to go. High Springs residents said that. And if that's the case, there's only 3 people on this dais that grew up in this town. So to the other 2, should they walk out of here tonight because they're not from here? Don't we want people to come in here with different ideas to help our town move forward? It's embarrassing to say that our citizens claim that he doesn't belong here and he needs to go. That's wrong. That's embarrassing. For you people that said that, you should be ashamed of yourself. I don't want to ruin the man, but yes, we do agree. I believe we need to separate ourselves because things haven't moved forward and fast enough for me. I'm too much of a minute man. I'm a fixer. Let's get it done and move forward. Mr. Marshall has stated plenty of times it's a marathon. I don't have the patience for a marathon, and I'm not downing him for that. That's just the way he was going to operate. That's fine. But I don't want to destroy him because he put a city employee on administrative leave while an investigation was going on. And I believe some of that was from that. That had to be done by protocol and done right till an investigation was done. And the investigation was done and the individual was brought back on the job. That was his job as city manager. It's his job to make the decisions. That's what we hired him for. So at least give the man some dignity to be able to leave here and let our attorneys negotiate something so he can move forward with his life. Some people here didn't want him to even be successful. To throw things at him and his wife and be disrespectful to them is not our town. Why do we want to turn ourselves into that? He didn't try to come here and make any enemies with anybody. He wanted to help move our town forward. There's no reason why we should destroy the man and at least give him the opportunity to leave out of here and move on and have a decent separation from all this and let him move forward with his life. That's all I'm asking, folks.
Yeah, I just, 1 second, I just want to remind you, Commissioner Bloodsworth, for me personally, I can't speak for anybody else that voted, the issue between him and Chief Shepherd was not in my decision making. My decision making was my personal experience with Jeremy as a city manager. You know, I understand the citizens wholeheartedly because I dealt with everything that each citizen had said about him. I dealt with it in the office every time I came to the office. You all may or not, but I did every time. So I understood the citizens wholeheartedly.
I agree with Mayor Miller. No offense, Chief, I love you to death. But my decision was made up far before Chief Shepherd was put on any kind of leave. It had nothing to do with that. Unfortunately. I mean, it'd be easy if it did, but it didn't.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, please, can I tag on to what Mr. Vice Mayor said? At the last meeting, there were, from my takeaway from most of the 10 or 15 people that spoke, there were 3 issues. And one was a lack of callbacks and responsiveness Mr. Smith alluded to. And that's valid. That's a valid concern. As a city manager, you have to be able to talk to everybody. You've got to be able to work with everybody, and that's something that I think, you know, you could work on. But I hear that. But then to Mr. Vice Mayor's point, I think a lot of people did blame Jeremy for the situation he had to take on in terms of dealing with a set of circumstances he was given with an employee. Had he not dealt with that, he would have been complicit in covering something up. He had to deal with it. I hope that he did it the right way. I know the attorneys were very helpful. I don't know, and I'd love some input from the gentleman to my left if they are able to provide it. If we handled it the right way, is there something we could have done differently? I don't know. We seem to take the situation very seriously, and Mr. Marshall made a decision that he felt, and he told me in his words, I feel like I have to do what's best for High Springs, and that was his decision. Whether I agreed with it or not didn't matter. But the way it was handled, I thought from the attorney's perspective and Mr. Marshall's perspective, from the commission's perspective, was very professional and respectful. And that, by all means, was due. I can't speak for anybody else up here, but I didn't speak to TV20. I didn't give the news. I wasn't out there on Facebook ginning up all kinds of ire. I wasn't the one who threw a brick through the city attorney's window or threw a full can of soda at Mr. Marshall's head walking in front of City Hall. That's what he was dealing with when he was doing this investigating. That was a hard situation for him to deal with. So I hope that we did all the things we should have done and that we treated it with the respect it was due. I think we did. But, you know, Mr. Marshall didn't, he took it very seriously, and I feel like he took a lot of undue blame for that situation. He had to address it. And then the other thing that I heard was folks were very concerned about the audit findings. We all are. We're all concerned about the financial situation of the city, absolutely. But that audit that was given to us was on a budget he had not even prepared. That was not his budget. That was prepared before he got here. So now the next audit we're going to see will be the first audit findings that we will get to evaluate based on what he has done here. And I don't think you can fix financial shell games that have been going on for years overnight. It just doesn't happen. As Mr. Vice Mayor said, it's a marathon. That's frustrating, I get it. But it's what you have to do. And I think that the results of the past couple of years aren't going to be obvious for another 2 or 3 years. But this commission, I think, uniquely, has been very transparent about the stumbles that we've had, the bills that we've had come up. We're as transparent as we can be, and we're trying to move forward as constructively as we can. But it's an iterative process. And, you know, it's constantly being refined and optimized. It doesn't just get fixed overnight. I can tell you that I think all of us have met with Leslie, the finance director that Mr. Marshall hired, and man, has she is diving in deep, and she's been a tremendous resource. But I think, you know, we have a commitment to continue to be transparent. But to Mr. Jameson's point, he's walking out right now, unfortunately. Mr. Vice Mayor alluded to the fact that an employee resigned on Mr. Marshall's 4th day here. That's a fact. I was in Ms. Stone's office when the resignation was handed in. I happened to be there. Okay, then he tried to rescind it. I've not told anybody this because it was somebody's personal information, but Mr. Marshall called me in that night to discuss it with me. And he said, Madam Mayor, I know that I said that I wouldn't make any big changes for 6 months, but I'm concerned about this. I have reasons for it. I didn't ask what his reasons were, but if one of your department heads leaves on your 4th day here, that's a pretty big red flag for me. So he was not fired, of course, but that issue was used to sue the city, and there were a whole lot of partial emails included in that lawsuit. It dropped right before the election, and it mentioned Mr. Marshall. Of course, it mentioned me as well. And then we filed a motion to dismiss, and it was quietly, the lawsuit was rescinded. Nobody talked about that. So yeah, that was a lawsuit, but it didn't go anywhere. And I think that he's done a lot of good things here. He's put a lot of heart into this place. But as I mentioned to Commissioner Grunder, I do believe that we have reached a natural end point and that Mr. Marshall is never going to have a chance to succeed here at this point. But we need to be able to hire a new city manager. We need to put the best face we can on High Springs and treat the man with some dignity. I think he's earned that. I think he put a lot of his heart and soul into this. So, you know, I would just ask that we get away from the litigiousness of it. Our litigious society here that likes to file lawsuits has migrated over to Schadenfreude. It's a German word that means taking unusual delight in the misfortune of others. If folks did not want him here when he applied for a job in Auburndale, why didn't they just let him leave? But they didn't. I can tell you I did a public records request, and I know the behind-the-scenes game that was going on there, and they ruined that job opportunity for him. If you didn't want him here, why didn't you just let him go? I would have been fine with that. So he deserves a little bit of respect because he has put in a lot of effort. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Well, I would like to respond to the audit. The audit was completed in how many days? 26 once it was like 26 days. So one of the things I addressed in the office was the fact that if you could have caught up the audit in 26 days, all the times that I sat on this dais and brought up the fact that the audit was behind, before we got a new finance director, why didn't you help the old finance director catch up the audit? If you could do it in 26 days. We could have handled that years ago. But there's a motion on the floor, so we got a roll call vote.
That's to rescind. It's not actually it's not to adopt the resolution, so you can just call it. Yeah.
The motion on the floor is to table the resolution and
Yeah.
authorize our
Right.
office to negotiate and bring back a settlement if we're able to reach one.
So I don't need to do the roll call. I can.
I would still do the roll call.
I got one question, Madam Attorney, just for my clarification.
Yes,
We
sir.
accept this, the earliest we can come back is September 10th, correct?
You're just
Okay.
tabling it to the next meeting.
Okay.
So the resolution will still appear on the next meeting, and it will either be accompanied by a settlement agreement that our office has been able to negotiate, or in the event that we're unable to negotiate a settlement agreement, we would report that to you as well.
Go ahead.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth?
To accept the resolution, yes.
To
Table it.
To table
Yes,
it and
to table,
authorize.
table the resolution. Yes.
Commissioner Grunder?
No.
Commissioner Howell?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
No. All right. Discuss, consider, and act on resolution 2026-U.
Mr. Mayor, this is Resolution 2026-U, a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, relating to the provision of fire services, facilities, and programs in the City of High Springs, Florida, establishing the rate of assessment, imposing fire services assessments against assessed property located within the City of High Springs for the fiscal year beginning on October 1st, 2026, approving the assessment roll, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for an effective date.
Is an increase in our fire assessment fees from $250 per year for residential structures to $383 per year. That is a $133 increase over what we currently have now. And to put that in a little bit more perspective, it's about $11.08 a month. The commercial rate would go to 36 cents per square foot with a cap of 66,000 square feet. The industrial warehouse would go to 11 cents per square feet, and the institutional would go to 24 cents per square foot.
Mr. Mayor, ma'am.
Any questions?
Chief.
Yes.
How are we sitting with maybe the county's version of this? Where would we be with the county? I think we've went over this several times before, but it'd be nice if you could reflect back on that tonight.
I haven't run all of the numbers on the county's methodology, but given the fact that the county's methodology assesses commercial, industrial, and institutional as this at the same rate as they do residential, I would assume, and this is an assumption, and I can talk to Leslie about this maybe a little bit, but I would assume it would probably be very similar in total gross revenue, I would imagine. Is that correct, Leslie, do you think? Yeah, without running the numbers, we really can't give, it would just be an assumption without running the numbers of all of our assessed properties using their methodology, correct?
But refresh my memory if I'm right or wrong here. We have said that the counties could be more for residential homes, way more.
Yeah, it will definitely,
Way more.
definitely be more.
Right.
Based on the information that we have. I don't have a slide to show you from last time we talked about the fire assessment fees, but just as an example, 383 would probably be in about the $150,000 to $200,000 assessed value home, and then anything above that would be exponentially probably higher. Correct, Leslie?
And I believe we've said before that this is where we should be now, before even discussing it tonight. We should have already been here.
This is probably where we should have been when I first started here.
Yeah.
In 2024.
Okay.
And we should, and this is gonna, if we go to this 383, this is going to be the max that we can go to without doing another study. We would have to do another study. On a positive note, we did lower our ISO rating to a 3, so that should help residents with their homeowners insurance, hopefully, if their insurance does look at that. So it could be a little bit of a give and take there.
Chief, again, thank you for doing it.
Yes, sir.
For trying to get through some of the hard things that you've done through since this time being here.
I'm trying my
Appreciate you.
I'm trying my hardest to make sure I'm financially and physically responsible with the city's money.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No doubt about it. So.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Chief, first of all, I'm so glad to see you here. What I've heard resoundingly from this community is they want to keep their fire department. They love you guys. They value you guys. You are an integral part of this city. The only way we can do that is to fund you guys. I hate raising people's rates, but this is what we have to do to give this department some stability and make sure they know how much they are valued here. So I know it's a big jump, but I know I've got a neighbor that lives not even a half a mile from me, similar size property in the county, and their fire assessment fee is way more than this. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Nope. We'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the rate as 383.
Second.
Any citizen comments? All right, this is a roll call. Did you want to comment now? Yeah. I was like, this is your moment to shine. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm thrilled to hear about this because I've been reading a lot about what's coming down the pike, like all of you, with Amendment 3. And at first I said to my husband, oh, wow, look at that. Our governor, DeSantis, is saying we don't have to pay any taxes. And is that something? He goes, Leslie, read the fine print. If it sounds too good to be true, it's not true. And then I said, I have to start reading instead of just looking at the headlines. So then I see Judge Frank ordered the Attorney General to submit a revision for the amendment because he said that Save Our Homes from Excessive Property Tax is like a slogan, and it truly is. And so I have a slogan, just say no to eliminating our house taxes. The governor compares our car tax to our home tax. What is the matter with him? We love having the services. Our houses are not cars. Our communities are not cars. So I'm very concerned that as we go and vote in November on the Amendment 3, we have to read the fine print. Otherwise, we're not going to have anything. We are not going to have anything. And at first I said, well, let me see, what is this save our homes from excessive property? What does the word excessive mean? So I finally downloaded it. You can find so much on the internet these days. And I'm reading it and I'm going, reduce the amount of Emmanuel. It goes on, and I'm thinking, let me read it again and again. And that's why this judge said, it does not state the basic legal purposes for telling voters to that the amendment is going to benefit them, ensure funding for core services, protect small businesses, ensuring fairness for Florida residents. It's all misleading, and it's a violation of the basic legal requirements. And the plaintiff for this was former Republican Senator Jeff Brandon. He's the one that said, wake up, people, don't be fooled. You need these services. Where is the money going to come from? So this thing from DeSantis doesn't say anything about money, unless he thinks he's going to go to the president and ask him for some money. So we have to be very smart here. We have a great community, and you have to pay some money for services. It's not going to come free. And when I looked at the numbers, it's just unbelievable. You're going to have a tax shift. If that amendment goes through, it needs 60% of the Florida voters to say, oh, yeah, I don't want to pay taxes.
All right.
Then we're going to have a
that's your
problem.
time.
We're going to have a real big problem. So please vote, and please read. Vote411.org, League of Women Voters. They're nonpartisan, but they spell it out so you can comprehend and be smart.
Thank you so much.
Here he comes again. I love these guys. Okay, I love the departments. I love everything. My first question would be: he says we are at where we want to be. If you pass this, we're going to come back in 8 months from now. He's going to want some more money. Yes or no?
I don't know if we're necessarily at where we want to be, but we're at where we can be.
We're at where we need to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those of us on fixed incomes can only take so much. Okay? I mean, everybody raises taxes. The county raises taxes. Everybody raises taxes. At some point, we can only go so far. You got a lot of people in this community that are on retirement and Social Security. Remember that 6-8 months from now. Thank you.
Just real quick to address that statement, there is a process for filing for an exemption from the property tax if you can't afford it. So you can file for an exemption for that also, for those that can't afford it.
Is that something that we could, I know Kevin's not here, but could we possibly make a post about that on our Facebook page on how to get the exemption?
Sure.
I think that would be helpful. Yeah. Somebody write it down.
Take care of it.
We'll take care of it.
All right, so roll call vote.
Commissioner Grunder,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Whites,
Yes.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, discuss, consider, and act on the agreement between the School Board of First Christian Academy and the City of High Springs for a school resource officer program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commission. Antoine Shepard, Chief of Police. So we're here for our annual agreement for the school resource officer position for the First Christian Academy. Highlight some of the differences in this contract. This contract has a 5% increase. We always usually increase due to inflation and things of that nature. The secondary portion of this is that we made some difference in this one to make sure that they have a threat assessment committee and that there are requirements in terms of mandatory notification for law enforcement. So that's highlighted in page 2 of the agreement. So take any questions or comments.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question, if I could, please. Chief, if we did not sign this contract, what would the school's options be?
I think they'll be somewhat limited. They could probably get a charter officer. They could pay for their own security personnel. They could try to outsource to the Alachua County Sheriff's Office. Would be probably a lot more.
I know this question came up during my meeting. Does the total amount, does that help with vehicle, anything that needs to be done with vehicle or anything like that?
So the total only represents about 80% of what we pay, so that's not the entirety of that. That's mostly of your salary. We do utilize the SRO. I would say that's probably a 60-40 split in terms of uses of it. If there's service calls there at the facility, which we do get those, we would still be responsible for going out there and dealing with those type of issues.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not quite sure I understood. So, Chief, did you say that this does not include the cost of vehicle maintenance?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so
No,
this is
ma'am.
just salary?
Yes, ma'am.
And the vehicles that we have with the SROs, are they owned or are they leased?
Yes, ma'am. They're owned, as you had authorized a couple years ago with the opera funds, so that
Okay.
we could try to transition from lease.
Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. So Chief, if we escort them anywhere and our vehicle breaks down, are we responsible to fix that vehicle at that time since it's being used for something of that nature, or are they going to reimburse us for damages or breakdowns, fixes, and that sort of thing?
No, sir, that's not included in type of agreement. If you
So
want to-
all this is, like you said, is just salary?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
So if we're using our vehicle on their time, shouldn't they have some responsibility to cover expenses for repairs if it goes down during the usage of that time of escorts or whatever it may be?
This is a standardized agreement, so it's kind of uniform for the public schools and things of that nature. If the future that the attorneys want to try to include more things in there, we certainly can do that. We certainly can. We do this every year, so we're a little late this year getting it on the agenda, but we can certainly add those type of things in there. And I'm pretty sure that the school will be, open to those things.
Well, I know typically when people do jobs that have vehicles, they have a vehicle pricing in there to cover expenses for the vehicle, and I believe we should be looking into that with this.
We can add
Myself.
something to that nature. Just know that the car's not being utilized very much other than transportation. The officers going to there and to the school. We certainly can. I get my direction from the city manager and through finance when I get ready to do this contract. So I, say, hey, what do you want? And I try to look at uniformity. I'm certainly open to placing those type of things. I concur with you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Vice Mayor, what I'll say to that is the years when I was the SRO, if we had an incident, we would usually have a road officer come and transport. For the most part, I don't know if you remember, but I had the decorated car, the red one, so it's more for decoration and just to say that the police are there for the most part, so.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just make a request, if you all are going to opt to accept it as written, if we could just amend paragraph 10. I believe Chief Shepard was just super timely in turning this in, and I don't think Mr. Alligood had stepped back at that point. So in
think
Chief's
it's been
defense, I think
amended.
he was just ahead of time.
You're talking about the name of the manager?
Yes.
I amended it and I submitted it to records.
Okay, great.
So you may have the old version.
Okay, I'm just looking
But
at the
you're
packet
right.
on the website.
I'll make a motion, we accept the agreement between these, First Christian and City of High Springs.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. New business item 4, discuss, consider, and act on 2025-2026 annual report for the school zone speed enforcement program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commission. Again, I'm Antoine Shepard, Police Chief. we have your annual school zone speed enforcement report. So we're required by statute to provide this as statute 316.07763C. So if you have a jurisdiction that's operating school zone detection system, you must provide an annual report before a special meeting or the governing body. So that's where we're here today. I'm going to go over the annual program summary. During this reporting period, there were 1,095 notices of violations issued. There were 4 of those contested right here in this chamber, and 1 of those violations were upheld. The other 3 were dismissed. There were 95 traffic citations, UTCs issued, and there were 719 notice of violations issued. The UTC comes after someone did not pay for their notice of violation, so we place it there even before they start making some different changes. But we actually place your notice there for several months, maybe 4 or 5 months before we advance that into a uniform traffic citation, because it's going to become more expensive after that with the county courts. So in total, there's been a generation of $71,900 during that period. We don't get all those funds. It's divided. So on our side, we got $28,041. The Florida Department of Revenue received $14,380. FDLE received $2,157. The school district, Alachua County, received some of those funds, and they received $8,628. We also receive the school crossing guard portion, which helps us in our general fund. It was $3,595. And of course, the provider of the services, Red Speed, received $15,099. Want to go over the positive portions of this program. There's been a substantial reduction in speeding in our school zone. We talked about that. It's about 99% reduction. We are seeing a decrease in revenues when we look at the previous year funding, which from my perspective, I like that. I'm not a person about policing about profit, but I like more about results, and that we're actually slowing people down, because that is saving lives. The second thing is that there's visible enforcement, warning signage, and public education that we push out. We're receiving a lot less criticism, even though my job is not to worry about criticism. It's about what is right. And so you don't see a lot of contested citations. You don't see a lot of things on social media as when we started the program. The program continues to support city goals in protecting students and the school employees, pedestrians, along with the motorists. I find myself even riding on there over the weekends and still slowing down. Just kind of psychologically, you're thinking, that camera's there. So we are changing the way driving behavior is. There is due process, because I certainly believe in due process. So individuals who are receiving those citations, they have the ability to contest. As I said, we've had some hearings right here in this chamber with the special magistrate. They have an opportunity to present evidence, testimony, and they have the possibility of having the violation upheld or dismissed. Public education outreach, we certainly have been pushing it out for safety of our students and our pedestrian safety, compliance with the posted school zone, and to also reduce crash and injuries, and community awareness. What's important is the use of collection of funds. I think the legislator was very smart about the uses of those funds. So right now, we have not utilized the funding for this year. However, we do want to, in the future, look at placing a pedestrian crossing warning device at the rear of the school. If you know, we're talking about 230th. I come through there in the morning times. It's kind of, if you see the area that they're crossing, the kids are crossing there, a little bit of trees, a little bit sometimes foggy areas like that. So we want to use something similar to the one that's on 236 in front of the school. So before we do that, that'll come before this commission, and we'll identify that we have the funding through that program. But as you know, those funding is supposed to be limited for law enforcement, safety, improvement of the school zones, and the crossing guard program. I want to give you a breakdown of the civil citation. It is a $100 fine if you receive one. It does not include any type of points. And so $60 goes back to the local municipality, $20 go to the state general fund, and $12 goes to the local school district, along with $3 going to FDLE. That's for the training and trust fund, and $5 goes to the school crossing guard program. So again, these funds are statutorily restricted and may not be diverted for purposes eligible other than use of school safety improvement, crossing guard support, public safety equipment, and authorized training. So we are seeing other jurisdictions, so slow down, be aware of that. The Alachua County Sheriff's Office has implemented, along with Gainesville Police Department, which I think they've started their actual ticketing in different school zones. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but I think some of the schools now have speed detection cameras. That concludes my report, and I'll certainly take any questions or comments from the public.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a question, but I have a comment. Chief, I'm glad to see that of the number that were contested, 75% of them were dismissed. So people are, availing themselves of the due process opportunity to be heard. So I like that.
Yes, ma'am. We just had a hearing just like a week ago. So it was a little bit of the opposite in that aspect. There were 4 that was uphill. And I think even on some of the ones that were dismissed, I concur with them. Sometimes, for instance, if you'll see on like, I don't know what page, if you see that's the last page,
Yes.
you'll see some of the indications of where we have dismissed. I think I got one on there as well, trying to test things out, but you'll see that it's pretty transparent in terms of when we do ourselves, we do an administrative dismissal, and so we'll put down the narrative. But you'll find sometimes where, just trying to recollect, you'll find sometimes that there was a truck driver, you really couldn't see, he had a trailer, you really couldn't see the tag portion on that. We probably should have caught that one ourselves and not proceeded with that one. We concur with the judge ruling it was appropriate.
Well, the details that you have here is really, it helps the plate. There were 2 numbers that were just mismatched, that were flipped.
Yes.
That means the process is working well.
It is, and we're a little bit, I think, when we started off, we're a little bit more fair than some jurisdictions. So what we did is if you went through the school zone, some people may not agree with this, but if you went through the school zone at 1 o'clock, you got caught, and you came back through 2 o'clock, you got double ticket. We saw that, we dismissed the second ticket and saying, hey, you didn't get noticed, but you still were speeding. So some people may differ, but we just took that discretion.
Slow down.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we accept the 2025-26 annual report on the school zone speed enforcement program.
Second.
Any citizen comments? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
New business item number 5, discuss, consider, and act on the purchase of grinder basins.
Do what? Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, before you is just a PO for, I believe, 16 new grinder basins that we're trying to purchase. They're just needed for stock. Every one of the ones that we have are accounted for, so.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask, we have the funds to pay for this? There is budget available. I'll learn how to ask the right question. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the purchase order.
Second.
All right, any citizen comments? Any commissioner questions? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you.
Got the next one.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry. He's nervous enough. Help him
That's on
out.
half of it.
Discuss considering act on purchasing E1 grinders.
Give me my jacket.
This is the same. This is just 15 grinder pumps for stock that we need. Grinders are starting to get old. We're throwing a lot more motors away, so we just never replenish our stock.
I'll make a motion, we accept the purchase of E1 grinders.
Second.
Any citizen comments? Any commission questions?
Commissioner White, you want to ask that question differently now on this one?
No, sir. I feel that if the answer was something different, Leslie would tell us.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
New business item number 7, discuss, consider, and act on ordinance 26-04.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 2026-04, an ordinance of the City of High Springs, Florida, amending the adopted fiscal year 2026 budget of the City of High Springs, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Leslie Moyer, your Finance Director. I bring before you a public hearing to propose recognizing grant revenues, appropriate expenses for the budget, remove restricted funding sources from the miscellaneous special revenue fund, and create new funds to separately track the activity associated with these restricted funds, reappropriate revenue expense budget for the restricted funds, and balance clerical errors. Do you have any questions for me?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve this ordinance, and I want to thank you, Leslie, for all the time you've taken with us to explain all of this to us.
Second.
All right, any citizen comments? Any commission questions? All right, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Howell?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth?
Yes.
Commissioner Grunder?
Yes. I'm almost there, guys.
All right, city attorney report and update.
I do not have any news for you all this evening. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I figured you'd be upset about that.
All right, city manager report and update.
I will be quick. Just want to say I'm grateful to be a part of the team of professionals whom, while wearing multiple hats, continue to rise to the challenge to support each other and show up for this community in the face of adversity. I'd like to acknowledge every department and member of city staff tonight for their commitment and continued efforts. These past few weeks, few particular team members stepped up in a big way. So in Parks and Rec style, I'd like to recognize MVP Leslie Moyer, Most Valuable Offense Ashley Malden, Most Valuable Defense Mike Gubzinski, and Clutch Performer Alan Alligood. Thank you to our community for joining us for National Night Out last week, as well as all the supporting organizations and volunteers. Big shout out to the High Springs Police Department for another fun, successful event, giving out more than 250 backpacks and bringing more smiles than one could count. The Mayor's Youth Council would like to encourage any middle to high school age young citizen residing in High Springs to submit a member application for the 2026-2027 session. Visit highsprings.gov for more information. Come be a part of the next generation of leaders. Use your voice to express your vision of the future and represent your peers. Stay tuned to our calendar of events for an exciting upcoming announcement about a fundraising tournament brought to you by the Mayor's Youth Council. Fall sports registrations are open. Check out Parks and Rec page for more information. And we'd like to wish all the dedicated educational professionals, administrators, staff, transportation team, crossing guards, resource officers, and students a successful school year. Voting is open August 18th at the Civic Center and the Douglas Community Center from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The Springs Hopper Transport Service is ready for riders on Fridays and Saturdays, 11 a.m. through 7 p.m. Rides are free and open to the public. Hop on and enjoy our good nature. And we'd like to send our thoughts and prayers to Christy Atkins and family at this time. And I'll finish by saying it's an honor to work for this city, the diamond in the rough of North Central Florida, and let's go High Springs. That's all.
Nice,
Love it.
nice.
Commissioner Howell,
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Grunder,
Yeah, you can't follow that. I'm done. Have a nice night. Appreciate y'all.
Commissioner White.
I just had a couple things to tag on to Jen's comment about the fun things coming up with the Males Youth Council. They're a great group. We need some more bodies. And in that vein, I'd like to wish a lot of good luck to Pastor Jacob Newton. His daughter is going to be leaving the Mayor's Youth Council board, and he's been reassigned, and High Springs is going to miss him terribly. And I want to thank Jen and Alan and Leslie for unparalleled hours and effort, and I just appreciate you guys so much for being able to explain everything and meeting with us, and it's been very, very educational for me. And I want to thank Angela and Jamie for all of the public records requests they are fielding right now. The amount of hours that they put into satisfying public records requests, people don't know. Angela, do you spend 2 days a week, maybe 3 days a week?
I will say this week, it's been all week.
All week, all week.
But one of us, because we have other duties, obviously, that we have to do as well. Yes.
But it makes it very
Lately,
hard.
It's probably at least 2 days a week.
And that's
One of us is
stunning.
totally dedicated to the public.
That's stunning to me. So I just want to thank you guys for doing that, because obviously we want to be able to satisfy those requests, but when you get a request that has to look through 45,000 emails, it's going to take a little bit of time. So I just don't think most of the people in this community know how many of those you guys get. So you guys are rock stars, and I really appreciate you. And Lillian was here from Main Street Daily News, but she left, and I was going to congratulate her because she just got engaged to another person at Main Street Daily News. So congratulations to Lillian. Thank you, sir.
All right, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I want to add on to Commissioner White's. I appreciate you guys' energy and efforts that y'all have done. It's good to see. We knew it was there. I'm grateful that you guys are digging things up and getting it worked, and also you and Kirsten to be able to call you guys to ask questions as well. I mean, I got my own personal attorney. It seems like it's right there. But I'm grateful the team that we have going right now, and again, your efforts are well noted. Thank you.
All right, so I just had a question. I know we tabled that item tonight, but is there direction that we need to be setting as a commission of what steps after that is solved? Is there some type of direction we need to be talking about?
Are you talking about perhaps looking for an interim? Is that?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that regardless of which way the meeting goes next 2 weeks from now, it sounds like that there will be some sort of separation, right? And so I think that in the next 2 weeks, if you all can start thinking about what you want an interim appointment process to look like, if you want to just skip straight to looking for somebody permanently and keep Jen in her spot as interim, if you want to bring somebody in as interim now and let Jen go back to Parks and Rec, and then look on a long-term basis. So there are a lot of options for you all that are available, but I do think that it would be fruitful to start thinking about those options such that we could discuss them at the next meeting.
Yeah, I can tell you now, I don't want to just go jump into another arms of another city manager. I think we should go the interim route for a while.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could we research that through the Florida League of Cities? Because they have people that are available to them. Is that something we could start looking at?
I could make calls and kind of bring back options for you all at the next meeting if that's something that you all would be amenable to.
Yeah, and is there, even if we go that route, could we open it up? Because there has been, I don't know if y'all have been getting a lot of emails, but I've been getting reached out to, I think, every day by somebody that's interested in being our city manager, so.
You absolutely could. If you wanted to open up even the interim position for application, you would just open it like a regular job position. It would just be specific that it's interim for a finite period of time. So yes, absolutely, to answer your question, you could do that.
Somebody need to make a motion for you to do that?
No, it's okay. That is going to be what is necessary at the next meeting. So I'll call the Florida League of Cities and see what they can do for us, and bring back those different options.
And then one last question about that. If we hire an intern or however that process goes, is there a way that we could, I know they are salary, but is there a way that we could clock hours? Could we make them have to clock in and clock out?
Yeah, I mean, the paycheck system permits that, is my understanding, right?
Yes, I clock my hours.
And she's
And I'm
salaried.
salaried.
Right, but we didn't do that before with other people. I know you
it's not
do
a
it.
main,
Yeah.
I do it for my personal, I just do. But the system does let you do that, yes.
So it's a provision we could absolutely put in the contract when it comes time to negotiate, because whether it's your interim or your permanent, they're gonna need some sort of contract. So that's something that if it's the will of the commission at the time, we can include a requirement that you're clocking in and clocking out when you're working.
All right. Our employee of the week is Miss Angela Stones.